Um, okay. Let's see if it's working. Um, like I just added as my microphone as an input as I just refreshed my audio input for the microphone. Oh, oh, okay. I I could it's audible now. Yeah. Okay. Just wait in. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Um. Yes. Yeah. So my audio's okay, but I want to let everybody know if they can hear you, young blood. Okay. Oh, really? Oh, he's really low. Okay. Let me turn up the and see if I could turn up the audio on his end here. Um, um, okay. Yeah. Try testing the audio. Uh, or try fixing your microphone. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Say it again. Uh, uh, uh say it again. Hello, hello. Yeah. Yes. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, your audio is low. Yeah. Um. Wait, yeah. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Yeah. And probably check your Skype connection. Yeah. On my side, it's okay. They can hear me. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. You have to make sure. Yeah, you have to make sure it's a good audio input. That's good. For YouTube, if that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Okay. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Just keep fixing it. Yeah. Okay. 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 Yes. Can anybody hear young blood? Wait. Saw is object. You say yay. That does that mean you can hear both of us? Oh. Oh. It's still whoa. Oh. Oh. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I think probably we have to postpone this live stream again until the audio issues are fixed. I'm sorry for the inconvenience to everybody and for you too, young blood. Yeah. Yeah, but just see if your end you can still get your audio louder because mine's okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you have to keep some optimism there, you know. Okay. Yeah. I know. Yeah, yeah. Because the set. Hmm. Yeah. Because the set.
One second.
Okay. I just added audio output for the speakers that you're speaking through on my end, Youngblood. Let me
One
see
second.
if that'll work. I just added audio output for the speakers that okay. Can you guys hear us now? On my end, Youngblood. Let me see yeah. if that'll work. It's wild. Okay. Youngblood, turn down the volume on your end.
Okay. Turn it down, you said?
Yeah, turn down just a bit. Can you guys hear us now?
Okay, one second.
Yeah, it's wild. Okay, Youngblood, turn down the volume on your end.
Okay. Turn it down, you said?
Yeah, turn down just a bit. Yeah,
Is
turn
that good?
down.
Okay, one second.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, I'm also realizing that you kind of sound a bit
Okay.
echoey. So yeah,
Turn
maybe
it
turn
down,
down
you
the
said?
volume on your end would
Yeah.
work. Yeah, turn
Is that good?
down.
Okay, one second.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm also realizing that you
Okay.
kind of
So,
sound a bit echoey. So yeah, maybe turn down the
let me
volume
see
on
if
your
that
end.
works out. Whoop.
Um, okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let me know if
So,
Youngblood is speaking from a good volume there.
let me see if that works out. Alrighty. Hello, can everyone hear me? Hello, hello.
Yeah. How about you sing a song? Sing one of your favorite songs, probably a Queen one, to keep everybody entertained during this
Queen.
26
Alrighty.
minutes of
Hello, can
inconvenience. Oh
everyone
my
hear
God.
me? Hello, hello. Sorry about that. Uh, oh god. Well, Queen's not my favorite band, but I do like some Beatles, some
I
old
know.
'60s stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure you know. Um, hang on. Let me just see if I can do this real quick. Sing anything, right?
Oh, as long as it's G-rated or PG rated.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
trust me. It's
okay.
it's not gonna
But
be it's not gonna be that R-rated stuff.
yeah,
Uh,
but you know what? I think they could hear me just fine. I'm sorry, hear you just fine at a good volume. But just
okay.
one more time. Uh,
Mhm.
okay, so the cartoon weirdo says wild and queer.
Good. Glad
Yeah,
that people can hear me now finally. Uh,
yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, I am very, 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 very sorry for the inconvenience with the audio, which took us almost half an hour to fix. But we managed to we managed to stay optimistic, and I managed to fix things on my own end. I think it was OBS that was the problem. Uh, with the audio mixer to be exact. I just had to re-put in my microphone and put in my desktop audio onto the OBS audio mixer. I think that was the problem. Because I
hmm
realized that the little colorful bars, like I realized they weren't moving, so I just re-added the microphone audio and the desktop audio, which is a Youngblood's voice. So everything's fixed now. Once again, I'm sorry for the inconvenience.
All right. Well, no worries. These things happen.
Yeah,
Technology is a very fickle thing. Trust me, as somebody who interacts with technology on a daily basis, in fact, I interacted with it the entire all of 2 months thanks to remote learning.
yeah,
These things tend to happen, especially since OBS is a very temperamental piece of equipment.
yeah. Let's make sure I put a timestamp on when the stream actually starts.
Yeah, good idea. That's a good idea. So that way they can follow along if they're watching it later.
Yeah. So if any of you were to rewatch this or watch this for the first time, make sure that you click on that timestamp so that you won't have to cringe at the half hour of audio inconvenience, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, welcome everybody to my fourth wipe stream. This is something that I've been waiting for a while now. Based on your votes, this live stream is gonna be focusing on your favorite subject that I tackle on my channel, which is logos, and I'm super grateful to have this person be my special guest. He's a huge logo fanatic himself. He's one of my favorite underrated YouTubers. I've been a fan of him since 2016. He's a member of the commentary community, and he's responsible for the popular series of The Logo Corner, which talks about the evolutions of popular uh, production company logos. So give a nice big welcome coming all the way from New Jersey, Youngblood Fantasy 91, aka YBF91, aka Logo Corner Tiger, aka Hobbs.
Hello, hello. It's a pleasure to be on the show, and I'm glad that there's a shared interest in logos, and I'm glad that everybody's tuning in to watch. I'm very excited to talk about this stuff. This is a major thing for me,
I know.
so thank you.
You're welcome. So, Youngblood, how about you elaborate on who you are on the internet for those who aren't familiar? Tell them what you do.
Sure. I guess the best way to describe myself is that I'm a YouTube content creator. First and foremost, I've been actually on YouTube since 2007 making content. Um, and really, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I mean, I mostly started with random videos, but now what I do is I'm trying to make an edutainment video series on logo evolutions. Um, the most popular series that I've made, I think I started in 2015, was the Logo Corner, and I was inspired by people at CLG Wiki and Logopedia and other places that just chronicled, the evolutions of these logos, television, film, and home video. Those are usually the logos that I tend to talk about because in many cases, when people think of logos, they think of logos that you see at the grocery store or logos that you see in other places other than on the television. But really, what I'm focusing on are those. So I make logo evolution videos about them, but I try to make it as if it's like fun. I use narration. I use regular editing techniques to show how these logos changed over time and the dynamic nature of those companies, because really the backstory of those companies is super fascinating. So I like shedding light on not just the logo evolutions, but also the companies behind them and the weird decisions they've made in creating these logos, and of course the undercurrent um, that I guess influenced these logos to change. So that's pretty much what I do. I'm a YouTube content creator, and I also, on the side, as a side hustle of sorts online, I do, you know, singing and making music. But that's that's something we don't talk about because my music's terrible.
Though
But
I
yes.
think you're kind of a good singer. I remember
Oh,
in one of your commentaries that unfortunately you accidentally deleted. It was during the "Where's the Fair Use" controversy. At the beginning, you were doing a cover of "Knocking on Heaven's Door."
yeah, by the infamous Bob Dylan, of course. Yeah,
Yes.
and it's true. I accidentally deleted it. It was I was trying to delete other videos. I accidentally clicked in, then I just, I just hastily deleted it without thinking. Oops.
Yeah.
I think somebody re-uploaded it somewhere. I'm not sure where, but yeah, I do sing from time to time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go on American Idol anytime soon, but you
Okay.
know.
So, Youngblood, let me tell you, the first video, or at least the earliest video I saw of yours was your two-part response to Guptail89's response to your commentary on his video about logo changes.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. that takes me back. Yeah, that was when I was back in college. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he did make some good points, like how the Nike swoosh logo is just as iconic as the name Nike. Therefore, it shouldn't be that much of a big deal if the word Nike is taken away from Nike products and just weave in the swoosh symbol there.
hmm
Yeah,
Right, right. Because the thing is, with some logo types, the visual identity is just as distinctive as the word mark. Not many identities have that property, but some of them do. Like Nike, for instance, is a near universal, near worldwide logo type that everybody can identify off the bat, which is a testament to Nike's not only ability to market, but also just how simple the logo is. And many logos fall under that category. You see that with Chase Bank. You see that with actually other logos that were made by major logo designers like Shermayeff and Geismar, for
yes,
instance,
and Saul
which are based in New
Bass.
York. Yeah, and Saul Bass, Paul Rand, all those major logo designers, and the identity can be seen as separate from the word mark, and you can say, well, yeah, I know what that is. I know what that brand is, and that applies also to, again, film, television, home video. So in that particular video, I did take issue with that because he was like, "Well, no one's going to recognize it," and that's not true because the
Right.
market penetration for Nike is pretty high in most um, first world nations, which is what I think he was kind of hinting at.
Yeah, and the same thing with the Gatorade symbol.
Yeah, Gatorade was an interesting thing. I understood where his issues were with that, but the thing is, you had the Thunderbolt. So again, another example of a word mark a word mark versus visual identity issue where you've seen the Thunderbolt for many years and it's orange. So over time, people can make that association in their heads. Obviously, it's not as obvious as the Nike logo, but if you look at the letter G and you see the Thunderbolt, you can kind of make in your mind some kind of conclusion based on that because it's an energy drink. What starts with G? The only one that comes to mind is Gatorade. I mean, there's really nothing else.
Yeah, that's right.
hmm
Okay, right before we get into the main points I have written down, I
hmm
just want to tell you, Hobbs, that you're actually the reason why I got into reading Calvin and Hobbes, because you use that character as your avatar during your commentaries.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. I'm glad that it inspired you because that comic strip actually was one of the first ones I've ever read, aside from maybe Garfield or Peanuts or several other ones, Dilbert. Those were
Yeah,
one of the first. That was one of the first ones I ever read, and I love the writing. I love the artistry. I
uh-huh,
mean, it's inspired me for years. That's kind of why I guess I defaulted to Hobbs in my
yeah.
early years on that channel.
Yeah, uh, I have a copy of the Essential Calvin and Hobbes book, and
hmm
whenever I would read it, I like to point out the specific drawings of Hobbes that you would use for your avatars.
Oh, well, thank you. That's really cool. I'm
Yeah,
glad that you made those connections. A lot of people say that to me. They come up to me and they're like, every time I read Calvin and Hobbes, I can't stop imagining Hobbes with your voice, and it's like,
same thing with
oh
me.
man, that's well, I appreciate that, but I don't think I'd be the ideal voice for Hobbes. I'd imagine him to have like a deeper voice, kind of like Tony the Tiger esque. Most tigers typically have like that deep bass voice. I don't necessarily have a bass voice per se.
Yeah,
I'm more of a baritone, if anything.
yeah.
Imagine him to have like a.
Okay, okay. Now, okay, so let's talk some logos, but before we do, I just want to let you know that if you guys have any questions for me or Youngblood, it would be best to save them until we're close to being done with the live stream, just so our discussion would just flow better. Well, only unless it's really relevant to whatever we're talking about. We could we might be able to mention your question or your comment. And even if you're to give a super chat, I would thank you for it. And I would take note of it at waiter time during the live stream.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, I guess just lob them and we'll answer them accordingly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We might be on here for over an hour or two. Prob if you don't mind, we might be here for an hour or two because so much of the time was spent on fixing the audio.
Yeah, that's fine. I got time.
Okay. Thank you. So, firstly, Youngblood, I want to ask you, what is it about logos that made you such a fan? What inspired you to become such a huge logo expert? And was it that's so special about it from when you were a kid and so forth?
Hmm. So the big thing is, the big thing that you have to outline is we are a consumer culture, right?
Right,
So
right,
we watch television, we watch films, we watch a bunch of programming. And I feel as though when you do that, you tend to just take in everything. For me, I took in everything. There are some things that people ignore. Like they ignore the opening credits, they ignore the closing credits, and then they ignore the television credits. And I feel that with most movies, people ignore the beginning credits. But
yep,
it always fascinated me for some reason. I looked at it when I was a kid, and I'm like, why? So the first thing that I always wonder is why is it there? Why was it there in the first place? Like as a little kid, somebody who's very interested in seeing all these new things and seeing these bells and whistles on programming, it's like, why is it there? Why were there station idents? Why were there movie logos at the beginning? So in fact, the way I got into logos is a kind of strange Stockholm syndrome because I actually was scared by some of the early logos. And the best example I can think of is if you've watched PBS,
right.
if you watched PBS Kids in like the mid 90s, everybody knows the P-Pals logo. All
Oh
right.
yeah.
If you've watched it, oh yeah, that logo scared the living daylights out of me. And the reason why was because the audio balancing, relevant for this whole podcast, but the audio balancing was terrible. It was loud, it was in your face, and
Yeah.
you had like 2 seconds of black screen before it appeared. At least from my perspective, you had like 1 to 2 seconds of black screen, and then it just appeared out of nowhere. And I would have nightmares about that thing. I even told some of my friends about it. They thought I was insane.
Right.
But realizing the power of that logo in my later years, I was like, it's interesting how effective it was. It was scary, to say the least, but it was effective. And I'm like, what reasons did they have to do that? And then over time, I just became obsessed with PBS logos. It was mostly PBS for me because I used to watch PBS. So I was obsessed with the PBS logos. Then I became obsessed with television logos like Fox, UPN, CBS, NBC, because I realized they all had different logos too. Then I started noticing as I was getting older, television distribution logos. I was not scared by the Viacom V of Doom. Everybody says they were scared by it. I wasn't. I found it really fascinating,
Yeah, I'm not
including the
scared by
older
it
ones.
either.
Oh no, I love it. I love the pinball logo. I love the Viacom V of Doom logo and the V of Steel. Like
Yeah.
I used to see that because my parents were really into the Twilight Zone, and so whenever they reran it, that appeared. I also like the Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon logos,
Me
and
too.
all those logos fascinated me. And then of course, watching older films, I used to like the Columbia logo a lot. I really like the MGM logo a lot. The home video variants, and of course, since I was a Disney kid, I saw all the Disney logos.
Like Walt
So
Disney
all those
Classics.
yeah, Walt Disney Classics, Walt Disney Home Video, the Golden Collection, the Diamond Collection, you name it.
Yeah.
So I thought I was the only one in the world that was interested in that stuff, right? Because no one really wanted to talk about it in real life. Then came my discovery of YouTube. That was around 2007. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention RKO too. 2007 was a big thing for me because that's when I discovered that YouTube back in the day had groups, and there was one group dedicated to logos. And I was like, are you kidding? There's more people that are interested in that? And there was. People uploaded logos on YouTube. People distributed them around, and they would, in the comments, people would share their memories with the logo. I'm like, wow, I'm not the only one. So there was a sense of community that was surrounding it. I'm like, this is fantastic. 15-year-old me was like wide-eyed and, you know, very, very, very illuminated by this. And then I later found the CLG wiki, which that no longer exists. That's a story for another day, or maybe
Right.
later in the podcast.
Yeah,
But
I do want to mention about how COG Wiki is going through some changes.
yes,
Yeah.
so yeah, so hopefully my story isn't too long. Hopefully I'm not monopolizing the podcast. But
No,
essentially,
yeah, it's good.
but it's
I relate to
thank
it.
you, thank you. But yeah, so like, I found those YouTube groups, I found the CLG wiki, and then I found the scary logos, which is where I met my old nemesis, the PBS logo. Now, being that I'm 15 and being that I was 15 and 16 at the time, I was like, I'm not scared by it anymore. But then I realized again that power, right? That power behind it. I was like, okay, but why did they make those choices? That question came up again in my head. So now it's like I wanted to learn more about the companies behind them. And even then, prior to that, I was really interested in the PBS stations because throughout the US, there's different PBS stations, each with their own identities. Obviously, there's like a nationwide PBS thing, but if you look at their history, there were different stations with different idents and different bumpers. And I grew up with WNET because since you mentioned I'm from New Jersey, I had WNET and NJN.
Yeah.
Both of them had different local identities too. So that also fascinated me. So even prior to finding the CLG wiki, I was interested in those local idents. They were really fascinating. So, everything from I like the Texas. There were some Texas ones that I liked. There was one from some California ones, and even then, you saw that on the TV because those television shows were made in those areas. So WGBH is a classic example because there were programs made in Boston. Then you have KCET, right? That's from California. So
Right.
you saw those and you were like, this is so cool. So fast forwarding to high school, I was really interested in that stuff and I just would just watch them all the time. And then as I became college age, so maybe 19, 20, 21, um, then it was a matter of understanding why they made those choices. So it wasn't just me looking at them anymore, it was now delving deeper into them. And I felt that on YouTube, no one really did that. Most people just posted their logos and moved on with their day. And then you had the CLG wiki as, the central, information center, maybe aside from Logopedia and, random articles online that talked about logos. So it was just that, and it was just those logo captures. So I figured maybe I could make a video series dedicated to doing that, but in my own style of video making that I perfected over the past 5 to 6 years.
Yes.
So that's really where my fascination started. The fact that I just watched all this content when I was a kid, and the fact that I was just struck by the colors, the animation,
And the music.
the local, and the music, absolutely. And even my interest in foreign logos goes back to when I was 15 or 16, because that's when I discovered all the British logos for ITV. I discovered it around that time. I remember driving around with my grandparents and just reciting some of the ITV logos to my grandparents. And they thought I was, I'm sure they thought I was a little insane, but they allowed me to do that. But it was interesting just seeing all that. So I guess that's where my interest coalesced. Probably around high school was when I was like really knee deep into it.
Yeah. Oh, that was an excellent story, young blood.
Thank you.
Yeah. And and like I said earlier, I could relate to it. So
Hmm.
my story with logos. Well, firstly, to make a comment regarding you growing up with PBS logos. I grew up with WNED, which is the affiliate for Buffalo, New York, and
Yes.
Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So
Right.
their 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 ident would have one side be the American flag and the other side being the Canada flag. But
Yeah, that's a very cool variant. I like that one.
yeah. So with me, I there are cases where uh, I love logos to the point where I would there will be the only thing I would look at on a VHS tape. Like I'll just put on a VHS tape and just stick around for the logo and probably stop it because the movie, to me at least, just wasn't as interesting. Like for example, when I was younger, I would I have I still do have the VHS tape for the live action Dennis the Menace movie from 1993, which I actually like. But before I got to be really into the film itself, what I used to do was just throw in the tape, look at the Warner Home Video logo, and afterwards the Warner Brothers Family Entertainment logo. Uh, those two have always been my favorites. I know the Warner Home Video logo is has a mixed reputation for being cheesy, but I just absolutely love the fanfare. That's the best part, and the scrolling of the letters and
Hmm.
zooming out and everything. Just love. It's
Yeah,
just really bombastic of everything about
yeah,
it. Even though the
absolutely, I
graphics are,
agree.
yeah, even though the graphics are they are outdated.
Yeah, you can say that. Like the music's a little cheesy, the graphics are a little silly, but I mean, I like it too. It stands out. It
Yeah,
stands out. The music stands out. You know, it can get a bit obnoxious towards the end of the fanfare, but it stands out. Like that's the thing.
yeah,
Um, that's what's most important.
right. And with the Warner Home, oh no, the Warner Brothers Family Entertainment logo, with Bugs Bunny, I love that as well. With
Oh,
the
yeah.
yeah, and there's one
Hmm.
specific variant that's used in a few films, including Dennis the Menace, in which Bugs, he has the banner in his hands, and then he puts it on the WB shield, and he spins it around before getting to his normal position by the side of the WB shield, and I think that's such a really good variant. It adds much more than the usual one where we just see the family entertainment shield already formed and the Time Warner byline fade in, and then Bugs comes into the picture. I think the one with more animations should have been used much more often. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I would think so, except I think that the variants that I saw were mostly television ones,
Yeah,
and in many cases you have a time limit. So of course I can understand like the abridged version, but yeah, I mean the full version is pretty cool. You know, my memories with it are of course with stuff like Animaniacs
yeah,
and those other cartoons. That is where I remember it from, and that is I'm like, this is fantastic. So I love that variant for that reason because Animaniacs and Freakazoid and those other cartoons were some of my favorite cartoons growing up. So, but I do agree that the longer variant's pretty cool. Yeah, I wish it was implemented more, but I do understand why there were restrictions on time frame for it, especially considering since television time is money, you have to get to that logo as soon as possible. Even now, if you look at television idents after. They last like a total of it's like 0.5 seconds because you
yeah,
have like five different distribution companies, which gets really annoying and it feels like you're on a roller coaster half the time. But that's neither here nor there. That's just proving my point that you have to get quick and to the point with some of those television idents.
yeah. And going back into my nostalgia with logos, I'll just talk about
Hmm.
at least four logos that are especially nostalgic for me. Well,
Sure.
firstly, the there's the Teletoon logo. Of course, I'm a proud Canadian, so I will see the
Hmm.
Teletoon logo, which consists of these squiggly lines. They form the Teletoon red border shape with the smiley face with the accompanying mix of sound effects. And I grew up seeing that logo at the end of many original Teletoon series.
Yeah, so Teletoon, yeah, the Teletoon ID and the Teletoon ident. I remember seeing actually, I saw that several times. Obviously, since I'm a dirty Yankee, I haven't seen it as often as you have.
Right.
But I do recall seeing that every so often. Um, there were some occasions where I would come across it if some places were Canadian, but I remember more so the YTV logo, and because that actually popped up because Big Comfy Couch was a Canadian, I think,
Yes.
project, but in part. I remember seeing the YTV logo more so than Teletoon. So if anything, I can relate to, you know, your Teletoon nostalgia with my own YTV nostalgia. And I actually did see many variants of the YTV logo since I did watch that show every so often.
That's
So
great. Yeah.
yeah.
With well, speaking of the YTV logo, there was one specific variant that legitimately had me startled. It was at
Hmm.
the end of this obscure Christmas special called Christopher the Christmas Tree, and it's the YTV logo with the purple television and the red screen, and after a much gentler logo plays, we have this YTV logo screaming at the top of its lungs while the words
Oh.
YTV just bounce around, followed by this girl saying, "No problem." Like, that legitimately startled me when I was like 6 or 7 years old. I did not see that coming whatsoever.
Yeah, no problem. Actually, big problem because you're screaming in my face. Like it's like I know that variant because that logo sounds like it's mad at you for whatever reason. It's like, oh well, why are you screaming at me? Like, come on, I'm watching your programming. Why are you trying to scare me away? And Teletoon has that same problem. It just tries to scare you sometimes. Like I don't know if you're familiar with those Teletoon, because I have some several Canadian friends and we talk about logos too. They
Right.
showed me like these Teletoon late night blocks for
Yeah,
adults.
yeah, yeah, those.
That's just the stuff of nightmares. Let's just talk
Yeah.
about that for a sec, because that's just, excuse me, Teletoon, are you trying to kill us? Like,
Yeah.
with heart attack inducing, like, bumpers? Like, yeah, YTV screams in your face, but Teletoon's like, oh, you want some macabre imagery? Sure, have that. Destroy your brain for 2 hours while we're watching your programming. It's
Yeah.
like it's like Adult Swim but on steroids.
Yeah. And yeah, those logos, I mean, sorry, not the logos, those bumpers, they were done,
Yes.
I think, by Cup of Coffee Animation, which has their own kind of popular logo with the coffee cup popping up, and I actually remade that for Classic Logo Remake Party 4, and before that was released, I did a tutorial just to give my viewers a taste of how I generally go about remaking logos because they love those remake parties so much.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I actually did get a chance to look at one or two of them, so it's pretty interesting. Yeah, no
that's good. Thanks.
problem.
And yeah, and another nostalgic Canadian logo for me is the Nelvana logo from 1995, used up until
Uh,
at least 2004, with the blue 3D outline of the polar bear in space, zooming out with a flash of light, and then the blue arc shape surrounding the polar bear with stars on it, and the Nelvana name below it, and afterwards the comment appears. That one is just as nostalgic, probably just as nostalgic as the Teletoon one, because there were so many programs from Nelvana that I would watch on the four main family-friendly channels here in Canada, which were YTV, Treehouse TV, Teletoon, and Family Channel.
mhm. Right. Yeah, Family Channel. That's familiar to me. I know the Nelvana logo specifically from the Magic School Bus. Of
Yeah,
course, going back to PBS, it's all going to come back to PBS with this entire podcast.
yeah.
But yeah, like I remember the Nelvana logo from the Magic School Bus, and I remember the Nelvana logo from several places. I do recall the famous variants where um, it's the bear just comes on screen and it just zooms in and then there's lots of red. I remember that very very well.
Yeah.
um, so that one also sticks out in my mind too. I also love the one where it looks like the Nelvana bear is like sneezing out the star. That was kind of cute. But I
Right.
do recall the one with the arc above it and the 6 stars. I do remember that one.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're gonna later on we're gonna talk about plastering, and I know the 2004 logo with the solid white polar bear. It pretty much erases the existence of the preceded couple of Nelvana logos, much to my annoyance. I personally prefer the 1995 one.
Yeah, as do I, but what are you going to do? I mean,
Yeah.
I prefer actually the older variants, like from the 80s, where it's like like the screen just kind of flies in cheesily from the left, and then you see, the Melvana bear appearing and the wording appearing.
Yeah.
Like the stars shine. The bear just like seems to come in via, you know, kind of like in a spaceship sort of way. It just there's a line, and then the bear just appears. It's blue as all anything, and the wording is very red. And I love that variant. It's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah. Okay,
It's too bad.
I have two more nostalgic logos to talk about, and they both have
Yeah.
to do with Sesame Street. Firstly, there's the Sony Wonder logo. If For anybody who grew up with Sesame Street videotapes between 1995 and 2006, I believe, that's when you have this very peaceful, lovely logo consisting of a ribbon that says Wonder on it in front of the live action sunny sky, and then a, a CGI sun fades in where the O in Wonder is, and followed by the Sony text, accompanied by some really nice music. I I I have strong nostalgia for that. Not just for Sesame Street videos, but I also look forward to seeing it. It's actually the only thing I really remember seeing of the TV show Mega Babies, if you've heard of that.
I unfortunately have not heard of that, but I do know your reference to Sesame Street. I never had many of the Sesame Street VHSs, but I am familiar with the Sony Wonder logo. So, I mean, I do like it. It is pretty calming. It's the same. I mean, I like to make the joke that the Sony Wonder background, like the cloud background, it's like, what did they do? Did they ask Warner Brothers Home Entertainment for licensing of those clouds? Like, hey, we're just gonna take those. I'll take it, but just don't copy my homework. And so I guess they didn't copy it, but it's just interesting how a lot of those home video logos have that sky background. It's very funny just seeing that. But I guess I'll come back with another personal nostalgic one for me. Yours was Sony Wonder. Since you're talking about like children's home video, mine was family home entertainment.
Oh, the
Especially
1991
the,
one?
yeah, the earlier one with the earlier one where again it's flying in like Nelvana, just flies in, and then you have the FHE coming in on like the dotted lines, kind of like if you're practicing your cursive on those dotted lines,
Oh,
and
that one.
like
Yeah,
the
that one's
background,
cool.
that one's cool. The background was like weird colored, but I mean it was interesting just hearing that. The music's a little bit of standoffish, in my opinion. Like the music's just very like synthy and loud and obnoxious. It sounds like it's just the logo's like vaguely annoyed at you about something. Um, so that's how I felt. But I do like the newer FHE logo. That was I think it's the paintbrush variant
Yeah,
where
that one's the
paintbrushes come
best.
in, and that one I think is really nice. It gives off the same kind of calming that you see in the Sony Wonder logo. So
Yeah,
I guess that's where we can relate in that regard.
yeah. The CGI doesn't look too outdated either.
No, I mean, it looks like a very recent thing, and that's awesome. The other one, unfortunately, is very, very dated, and it looks like it hasn't aged too well. Like, you look at it and you're like, wow, this is definitely from 83 or 84.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, oof.
And
Scanimate.
the what said about the. Wait, were you just referring to the very first Family Home Entertainment logo with in the space background with the noise?
Oh, oh, that's even worse.
Yeah.
I wasn't even mentioning that, but yeah, but that's even worse. It's like, what even is the music? The music is just a bunch of like bips and boops and whatever the heck it
Yeah.
is. It sounds like it's coughing. And then
Yes.
you have that like the family home entertainment. The thing is, the family home entertainment wording is like you see some green, then you see some purple, and then suddenly it's gray. And you're
Yes.
like, that's so ugly. That's an ugly looking set of word marks. Like, what the heck's going on?
Yeah.
And another thing about home video logos that just has been, it's just a trope that's just so overused is, ooh, we're flying in space. It's like every other logo's flying in space. Like
Yeah.
Chic Sun's flying in space, Media Home Entertainment's flying in space.
Interglobal.
Um, Interglobal's flying in space.
Yeah.
It's all those cheap home video distribution logos. They're all either flying in space or it's stationary in space. It's like, okay, enough with the space. We get it. Your logo's in space. We kind of got the picture after the 20 millionth time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember this local YouTuber named No Entertainment. You know, that guy. He
Oh,
has
yeah. No entertainment.
yeah, he has a deformed Dr. Phil as his avatar. He did a parody called Family Home Disappointment, which yeah, that
Oh,
logo
yeah. I
is
saw that one.
yeah, that one is kind of the black sheep of the Family Home Entertainment logo family.
Hmm. No entertainment. Honestly, you guys, everybody in chat, if you guys really want to watch some good logo compilations and you want some funny logo parodies, go watch No Entertainment. That guy is just a riot. Like his there are several other ones that I think are super funny, which I will not repeat here because we're trying to keep it PG. But some of these are really hilarious. I do like how he reinterpreted one of those Thai logos because he actually um, makes compilations of logos all around the world, and he found like this Thai logo that is so cheesy, so from the 80s, but he kind of makes fun of it because the Thai language is very weird. So he kind of made fun of it by making it like an English transliteration. I don't know how else to explain it other than it's really hilarious. So go check out No Entertainment, everyone.
Yeah,
So funny. Funny
yeah,
stuff.
and underrated too. We're gonna talk about our favorite logo YouTubers in a bit. Uh,
Sure.
Yeah, and the last nostalgic logo for me is the CTW logo from 1997. You know, the one
Mm.
with the yellow semicircle that's CGI and bouncing with the CTW letters on it, and then it flips and gets into its final form. Like, I really like the bouncy energy of that one and the music and all. Like that one's nostalgic for me, not just because of the Sesame Street videos, as well as Elmo's World. Whenever it would air by itself, separate from Sesame Street, it would air by itself on as a separate program on Family Channel in the early 2000s. But I would
Mhm.
also look forward to that CTW logo at the end of Dragon Tales. Just before I would go off to like a school, I would just make sure I have enough time to see that logo right after Dragon Tales on CBC.
That's really cool. Yeah, I do know that logo. I actually like the variant where you mention all that, but the bottom part of it says "Play it smart."
Yeah.
It's funny because it's like, so a logo is telling me how to live my life. Thanks. Much appreciate. Play it smart. What do you mean play it smart, logo? What are you trying to tell me? Like I'm making silly decisions? I mean, I know what they were trying to do, but it was just so random when they did that because sometimes you saw it without the byline "Play it smart," but other times you did, and you're just like, what do you mean? What are you trying to tell me? Like 8-year-old me would not have understood that.
Yeah.
But yeah, CTW, I like that. I actually did like the blue and black variant where it's like there's a sparkler light and it's
Yeah.
lighting up children's television workshop in
Yes.
3 different rows. I like that one because the music's pretty awesome, and I do like how the black and the blue kind of contrast, but I also really liked the font that they used for that. That one was really 70s, but it works. It's very functional
Yeah.
since Sesame Street is like a fixture of the 70s. So I like that. So those two are pretty cool. I like those both.
Yeah. I like the 1983 logo as well. I remember, I think the first
Hmm.
time I saw it was at the end of this cartoon called Slim Pig, which is about this pig who's two-dimensional. Like he's basically a sheet of paper in the shape of a pig, and that would come
Hmm.
on CBC as well. And in America, it would air as part of Big Bag, which was the Sesame Street-like program that aired on Cartoon Network in from 1996 to 1998. It's just about as obscure as the Moxie Show.
Yeah. So you're referring to the CTW logo where the T and W are connected and the C is kind of like fitting in with the T. kind of like as a puzzle piece, or are you referring to the earlier variant from like the mid '80s?
Uh, the from the mid '80s with the blue text on the black background.
Oh, oh yeah, that one, right? Because there's also another one that I'm thinking of, which is really more of a fixture of the '70s than anything. Because yeah, that blue and one is like it looks '70s, but it's really '80s and '90s. But there's one prior to that where like the T and W are connected, the
Yeah,
W is kind of slanted to the left, and then the C is kind of like fits in with the T as like a puzzle piece sort of thing going on. That one's interesting too. It's vaguely threatening and it's hilarious. I love
yeah.
it.
Like the only
Zoom, it just
time,
like. Mhm.
the only time Sesame Street used it was for the Christmas special, Christmas Eve, and even then they changed the music to be more festive and friendly. Otherwise, that one was mostly used on a
Yeah.
much more obscure show called 321 Contact, which was aimed at a much older audience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the way it animates in is also pretty fascinating too. It's like, it's like it starts with like solid lines and it becomes like then it becomes like more curved as you see it. But like like all the lines like are initially straight and then they all connect. I love the animation for that. I love how meticulous it looks because it's slow but it builds up.
yeah,
So I like that one again, but it's still vaguely threatening because some of the music for that is like a little like whoa, hang on. So,
I know.
but the Christmas version is also vaguely threatening, but that's just me.
Okay, so I think we could move on to uh, talking about threatened logos. Let's talk about scary logos and quote unquote scary logos. And by that I
Oh,
mean logos, scary logos that are basically overrated, like you don't find them to be scary at all.
oh,
Yeah,
oh God, yes.
yes. So I think we are gonna be talking a bit about a certain Sony logo from the mid 60s.
Oh, are you referring to the one that just everyone seems to be scared of for no reason?
Yes. Duh, 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 duh.
Oh my God,
Yes,
screen gems.
I know.
Screen gems. Let's talk about screen gems. That so it was probably one of the first scary logos I saw when I was in high school.
Right.
Um, it wasn't scary. Even 15-year-old me was like, this is super cool. The animation's cool. The color scheme's interesting. I mean, yeah, like the background looks like somebody spilled yellow lemonade everywhere, like dark lemonade. But I like the S. I like the music because the music is actually by Eric Side, who did the music for the early NET logos, which I really like too.
Yeah.
He did logos for like a lot of different things. He did music for a lot of different things. Excuse me. But oh my god, the S from Hell makes no sense because I guess a lot of people were like it's vaguely threatening, but I feel that it's hyper inflated in terms of how scary it is. Someone made like a documentary about how scary it is,
Yes.
and it's like it's very inflated. It's very over the top. I think it was more. I thought of it initially as a parody piece because people were like, "Oh, we were really scared by it." It's like, what's scary about it? Like, yeah, the animation may be a little bit deliberate. Yeah, the music may be a little off-putting, but there's nothing about it that makes it scary. At least with my PBS thing, um, I had a reason for that, which was the audio was completely balanced out of control and it was super loud. With the Screen Gems logo, the music's not even that loud, and the animation is very deliberate. So I don't understand why people are scared by it. I wonder if it's because a bunch of '60s and '70s kids were like, "This is very new to us. What the heck is this about?" And I guess maybe the because it's red, maybe that's it, or maybe because the design's a little weird. I don't know. I think that the design's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I think it's hyper inflated in terms of how scary it is.
I know. And it's the same thing with the Vicom V of Doom, like what you mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, Via Doom, I think, has a bit more wiggle room because Via Doom suffers the same problem as the PBS Kids logo, which the music is loud. And one of the big forbidding things about the Via Doom is if you watch the Via Doom variant, you hear like the music rising and rising and rising, then you hear a timpani. That timpani sound actually can be heard after the logo fades out. So that can be vaguely threatening. So Viacom does get some points. Obviously, again, it's hyperinflated in terms of how scary it is, but you can make arguments for it. Screen gems, I don't think you can make really any arguments for that.
Yeah. I think the only time the V of Doom startled me was when I was watching this TV
Mhm.
special produced by Nelvana in the late 70s called The Devil and Daniel Mouse. Uh, After the credits, the V of Doom just, by the way, it's the sped up version of it. It appeared without any warning, like I wasn't expecting that, but it was,
Yeah.
well, from there I found out that Viacom actually did distribute some of Nelvana's earliest TV specials back in the day.
Yeah, and the one that you're talking about, many people call it like the caffeine variant because Viacom's moving super fast.
Yeah,
But yeah, like that one, yeah, that one can also be considered, a bit, you know, of a shock, like kind of like an on-screen, scare. I mean, I guess like I don't know. If you're if you're not expecting it, yeah, it's kind of like a jump scare. But I think that's the most it's ever going to be. If you understand that you're going to be hearing this rising music, you're probably going to be more prepared to view it. But that's really it. Like again, you can make arguments for the V of Doom. You can't make many arguments for the Screen Gems logo. You really can't. I mean, honestly, I think what something that's slightly more off-putting is the CPT pretzel. No one talks about the CPT pretzel,
I
but
know.
everyone's talking about the Screen Gems logo.
Yeah, yeah. Um, um, and let's talk about another overrated scary logo. Although this one I think is much more understandable. The B and D mask.
Hmm.
Yeah,
The
like
B&D mask. Oh my gosh.
yeah, like I get
Now that one is interesting.
yeah, like I get with that one. Um, because of the startling music towards the end after the ball just bounces, and I know that is something you wouldn't anticipate at all, because at least the V of Doom and the Screen Gems as from Hell, they kind of tell you from the first second of what they're like, what the atmosphere is like. But with the B and D logo, you wouldn't expect a logo in which a ball is just bouncing on this black rectangle. Uh, to fall off and then zoom out, and then all of a sudden these these black circles that could probably give you seizure if you have epilepsy. Like you wouldn't expect it to become so melodramatic.
Oh no, yeah. The thing is about the B&D logo is if you watch it for the first time, yeah, it's a little off-putting. The jerking of the ball animation is what's kind of scary because it's like it looks like it has a mind of its own,
Right.
but then it just gets cheesy. Yeah, like of course you go from a gray background to a black background with the animation for that's pretty smooth, I would admit. But then you suddenly see the face and you're just like, really? And I think the music's over the top. Like it's almost again a parody of itself. Like it's over the top. It's obnoxious deliberately, and you're just like, really, really. And those crazy Russians, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
If you actually dig deeper and do more research, you also see that the B&D logo or Vid TV kind of spoofs itself sometimes. Sometimes they superimpose people's faces on it and they
Yeah.
make silly
Yeah.
faces. So you see that. I also encountered several B&D bumpers. One of them was super cool. There was this one bumper where somebody actually made a clay television out of like clay, and then and then someone made a clay version of the B&D logo. That actually was pretty awesome. Um, so um, yeah, again, you can make the argument for I think Vid TV even more so than Screen Gems because yeah, the music's over the top and the face is very off-putting, and in fact, that's the death mask of a famous Buddhist monk, I believe. So
Right.
yeah, now that you know that it's a death mask, it's like wow, that's kind of macabre. But that's the most you can really say, and then after that, it's like it's just a parody of itself, you know?
I know. I really like the one where this we have the head of a live action guy. He's right next to the black rectangle and the ball as it's bouncing. You know what's a variant I'm talking about, right?
Yes, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, that one's funny.
That one's funny, and I
Yeah,
think like the more recent variant for vid TV, I think they call it like a vigital, whatever. Um, that the face is smiling in that one, so that one's not as threatening.
yeah, and yeah. So the BND logo, it's overrated too, but its scariness is a bit more understandable compared to the previous two logos we just talked about. And then
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, and then there's the Klasky Chupo logo from 1998, who in more recent years has been properly been named the Splat.
Oh yes, the Splat logo. That's another famous one. That one I think is also a problem because a lot of people are like, ooh, well, the sound effects are annoying and the face is annoying and then the lack of nose is scary. It's like, but it's supposed to be over the top and silly because they make cartoons. I thought the Splat logo was funny. In fact, I actually
Me too.
replicated some of those sounds in when I was in second or third grade. I would make those sounds because they was that funny to me.
Yeah,
Um, so I thought it was pretty creative,
yeah,
honestly. And I did also like the word mark that they used for Klasky Supo. The word mark for that was pretty cool.
yeah,
And I actually did, and I think I peeped at the early variants of Klasky Supo as well, which was also pretty cool. That they have that theme of just using silly cartoon sound effects.
right.
Um, but I think the thing about Klasky Supo that I don't think is scary about it is that it resolves. So you see the splat, you see it say it, and then it just disappears. You hear some sound effects and it fades out. Logos that are scary and logos that are well, that are considered scary are ones that just stay and then they leave as fast as they possibly can. That's what the PBS Kids logo does. Klasky Supo actually takes its time to explain itself, stay on screen, and then fade out. That's what makes it not as scary as other logos because it actually stays there and it gives you time to breathe.
Right. And you have to admire how Klasky Chupo themselves are aware of the logo's infamy and all of those remixes that people on YouTube would do. Like they would have the Splat face himself talk comment on that.
Oh yeah, I remember like the Splat logo is like me, scary. What? That
Yeah,
was pretty interesting. Just that goes to show you how deeply embedded the logo culture is on YouTube.
yeah,
If Klasky Supo is willing to do that, then oh man, there's a huge like logo community dedicated to that. And oh wow, they must have seen all those parody variants. They must have seen all those people talk about it. It's just interesting how this company responded to all that silliness. It's amazing. It's amazing how, that's a clear example of how we as a consumer culture saw that logo, embraced it. Now that we have the internet, we talk about it, and now there's people actually responding. I would like to see Viacom's take on that or Paramount's take on that. That'd be interesting.
yeah. And uh, what you're telling me right now, it just reminds me of how you know the Vestron video logo. It was remade a
Ooh.
few years ago, and and uh wait, I'm trying to find my words here, but yeah, the Vestron logo was remade, and there was an interview that was mentioned in the CLG wiki article about how they want to capture cap pretty much bring new life into the vintage, although kind of cheesy Vestron logo. Uh, well, basically, the point I'm trying to make with what I'm saying with the new Vestron logo is how people are aware of the nostalgia, the how people could gravitate to a production logos that they could take, they could just acknowledge. Uh, I'm just rambling, but I think you're trying to get my point, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. You're referring, of course, to the Vestron video logo with the huge V, right?
Yes.
The very huge. Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I think they're trying to recapture it because a lot of people identify with that Vestron logo. So it's pretty cool how they're aware of their brand and they're going back to their roots. It's the same thing with the Orion logo, because Bill and Ted, they're releasing a new movie, Bill and Ted Face the Music or whatever, and they're reusing, or at least in part, they are re-replicating the old Orion Pictures logo
Yep.
to capture those memories of the 80s and 90s. Columbia does that too. Columbia actually reused old variants to give off that classic appearance, like in Django Unchained, for example. So it's pretty cool how those logos understand, or at least those companies behind the logos seem to understand that the older variants kind of stuck within, I guess, the conscience or the consciousness of many people that watched it, and so they're going back to their roots. It's really fascinating seeing that. It doesn't always work, but it works to a degree with some logos. Like Orion, I think, is interesting how they're reverting back to that. And Vestron, I think, is really interesting too. How they're going back to that. It's very cool how those logos, how those companies are responding to that kind of embedding in our culture.
Yeah.
But like I said, it doesn't always work. But I think it works a majority of the time.
Yeah. And do you think that could also apply to how Warner Brothers, during the 70s, they had an abstract looking black and white W before going back to the sealed that they had since during the 40s and is still being used to this day?
I feel that with Warner Brothers, they kind of just detoured. By the way, I just want to make a clarification. I know it's Klasky Chupo. I'm sorry. Some of my friends have been mentioning that. No, but like Warner Brothers just detoured. They kind of were like, okay, here's the golden shield. Here's the golden shield. Of course, back in the day, it was like the transparent shield, but bear with me. The majority of it, it's like, here's the golden shield, and then in 67, here's the golden shield. Then in 67, they were like, nope, never mind. W7, we're doing this now. And then in 71, they were like, nope, never mind. Warner Brothers with Kinney. Also, it looks completely different. And then after that, it's like, nope, never mind. Here's Saul Bass. Here's the W with the weird rounded rectangles. And then after that, they were like, never mind. Those past 20 or 30 years was a fever dream. We're going back to the Shield. It's just interesting how they just went through that process of just going back to where they were before. And the major reason behind that was because they were just acquired by other companies. They were, like in the case of W7, they were acquired by Seven Arts, and then after that they were acquired by Kinney, and then after that they were acquired. I guess Kinney spun off its non-entertainment assets, and they became Warner Communications. Right. And I think there was like a little interim between the Kinney Shield and the rounded rectangles, where they went back to the regular Shield, but nope. Not because I know that in Deliverance they did that. I know that because I remember watching Deliverance and seeing that similar like Warner Brothers Shield. But then they went back to they went to Saul Bass and they said, make something abstract. Okay, here's the rounded rectangles. Works for us. And then they went back to the Shield. It's like, okay, cool, good idea.
Yeah, and I not too long ago I rewatched your logo fonts video where you talked about the changes that was made to the Patreon logo, and you mentioned about the Gap logo, about how they changed it into something much more simplified, only for public outrage to erupt, or for them to go back to the previous logo.
Oh yeah, some companies just make very poor choices. Gap is the quintessential example of a logo that was changed, which was functional. It was functional before, even though it's a product of the 80s. It was functional before, it was functional in the 90s, it was functional in the 2000s, because the font worked, the blue rectangle, the blue square works, it works, all of that works, and they rallied around that brand identity for 20 years, and then one day they just said in 2010, nope, we're just going to use a generic font with generic with generic shapes, and we're just going to decrease the size of the square, and we're going to make it a gradient. It doesn't work. It seemed very random and arbitrary. And the public, for the most part, was like, this is silly. This makes no sense. So Gap was like, okay, let's hear some suggestions. And then they just retconned everything, and they said, okay, we're going back to the previous logo, sorry. And that new logo lasted for 1 week. And it was the clearest. It was like everyone says, it was the biggest logo design gaffe ever in recent memory.
Yeah.
And you have to think about that brand identity, because even now in these trying times, people are thinking of changing their logo types, right? And
Right.
the best example of that is, again, this may be a sensitive subject, but I think it's quite relevant for this discussion. Is the logos for Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben? People are wondering, okay, well maybe we should change those. But the thing is, I read an article recently that the family surrounding Aunt Jemima does not want that to change,
Right.
because A, the history behind it, and B, because it's an established brand by Quaker. It's a very established brand. It's like if Quaker changed the Quaker logo because of issues they had ethically with the Quakers. It's like you've had this brand for 50 to 100 years. So you have to be super, super careful. You don't want that to happen the same way it happened with Gap, because Gap had a lot of public outcry.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think it was the same thing with Tropicana. Just going back to your Guptail 89 commentary about what he was saying about the Tropicana logo.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right. The same thing with Tropicana. Like a lot of people had issues with the font place, like the font type and the placement, because people were like turning their heads, wondering what the heck it is. It's like I don't want to turn my head 90 degrees to find out what the like. Obviously, I can read it, but it's very poorly placed and it's busy. You have to make sure that your logo stands out. You have to make sure that your logo is distinctive enough to work. You can't use a generic font because no one's going to remember it, you know?
Yeah.
So you have to make sure your font sticks out, your colors stick out, and your visuals pop. If
Yeah.
you have too much going on, or if you make some unnecessary adjustments, you're going to end up with a bunch of people wondering what the heck's going on.
Yeah. I think Adult Swim was one of the few companies that got away with having just a plain text be their logo, their branding, with the white text and the black background, because during their first couple of years, they had footage of of adults in the swimming pool, and their logo was this black circle with red text.
Yeah, it's functional and it works. It doesn't work for everyone, but it's functional and it works because Adult Swim created a brand around that. They created an identity around that. They created an aesthetic around that.
Yeah.
Whereas, if they just did that, if they just showed like the Adult Swim logo as you've mentioned, without the background and without the music and whatever, it would just be very simple. And not many people would remember it. But I think people remember it because they associate it with A, their favorite shows that they like, but also B, the aesthetics surrounding it. Because Adult Swim has always had the aesthetic of being kooky, out there, borderline scary, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Speaking of scary, you know that a bumper that would appear right before Cartoon Network starts back up its regular hours that says the dawn is your enemy with
Dawn is your enemy.
yes, with those eyes in the sky like the moon and so forth.
Hmm. Yeah, a lot of people also have a similar reaction to that. The same way people don't like the Screen Gems logo. And my answer to that is, at least you have a defense for that because it is supposed to be genuinely threatening. The Screen Gems logo is not designed to be threatening. That was designed to be threatening. So I can understand why people had issues with that.
Right. Okay. And how about we move on to logos that I legitimately think are scary. One that comes up to mind is the Dark Castle, the Dark Castle logo, which, if you're not familiar, it starts off with a close-up of this gargoyle on the castle as it's sundering and lightning outside, and then it zooms out and it roars at us, and then we get the final form. Like, I get it was intentionally supposed to be a scary logo since it's for horror films, but I find that to be uh, way more scary than even the B and D one.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're right. It was designed for horror movies, so it kind of fits the same mold as say other horror movie logos. So yeah, it is a bit scary, but it does provide some good atmosphere. Honestly, I mean the animation's pretty solid in that. There's lots of detail to it.
Yeah,
So that's another thing about Dark Castle that's kind of scary is the detail.
I know. It's been
So
used
yeah.
since I think it's been used since 1999, and I think they still use it today.
Mhm. Right. I think they do use it to an extent, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
How about you? I think you already talked about it before with PBS, but I'm mostly
mhm.
referring to right now. Which logos do you legitimately feel scared of?
Oh, some logos that honestly I don't really get scared by them anymore, but there are some logos that do send chills up my spine.
Yeah.
Bryanston Pictures is one that sends chills up my spine.
Yeah.
Bryanston Pictures, the first thing about that is knowing the backstory of Bryanston Pictures makes the logo even worse. Because Bryanston Pictures is a company that was pretty much run by mobsters. Um, and
Really?
yeah, oh yeah. So the Bryanston Pictures logo was headed by somebody in the crime family called the Colombo crime family, and they distributed horror movies like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which of course is scary in and of itself. But the Bryanston Pictures logo is so weird. It's so
Yeah.
odd. First of all, black background. Any
Yeah.
logo that has a black background is automatically, going to put me on edge because it's in like space, but it's like it's in a vacuum.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then you have the yellow BP flying in, and then you have all these squares and these weirdo squares with the weird colors flying in, and the music is just, oh my gosh, the music makes no sense. None of the logo makes any sense. Where does it come from? Where do those shapes appear from? I can't tell you because the animation is so weird.
Yeah.
Um, it's very, very off-putting to me. Every time I see it, I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Who in their right mind designed that thing? And who in their right mind decided to use that synth and play those notes on the synth? And then it's just like, it just ends up at the end of it, just you hear a bunch of knocking and hitting noises. So it's like, what are they throwing things against the wall? Like, oof. So that
Yeah.
one does send chills up my spine.
Yeah. I feel the same way about a couple of other logos, like quote unquote high tech video with that screaming
Ooh.
violin.
Oh God, that one is designed for people that want to have ruptured eardrums because it just gets incredibly loud.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it just sits there as the music crescendos, so it stares at you almost threateningly as the music just rises and rises and rises, and you're just like, okay, enough, we get it. It
Uh-huh.
just becomes very discordant towards the end.
Yeah.
Oh
And as far
gosh.
as as far as PBS logos go, there's the there's the KWSU logo. You know the one with the ugly Scanimate pink text on the black background with the
Mhm.
music going.
Yeah, it sounds like it's yeah, I saw that and it's like this is what happens when you tell somebody to scanimate, but you also tell somebody scanimate so that way you scare everyone while
Yeah.
scanimating. And the thing is like it looks like you're at the very end when the music just becomes out of control. It looks like the logo is being just sucked up through a straw. It's
Uh-huh.
so odd. It is very odd. Definitely is one of those weird 70s TV fixtures, local TV fixtures that just is very, very oof.
Yeah. Okay. Now, next, let's talk about logos that are weird but also funny. I'll start off with
Hmm.
one I'm thinking of right now. The Zombastic Productions logo, which has the skull puppet in this the space background, and then somebody with Pepto Bismol inside a syringe, sticks it into the skull, and it's
Oh my gosh.
yeah, screaming, and and then at the end, after the zombastic production logo appears, we go back to the skull, and it just like dissolves. Like I know some people genuinely despise it, but I think it's freaking hilarious because of the possibly intentional cheesiness of it.
Oh yeah, it was. They're trying too hard. They were trying too hard to be edgy, and it's just very poorly animated, very poorly matted or chroma keyed onto that again flying in space thing, and it's just really like I've seen skulls fly in my face more threateningly and logos than that one. Like that one's just nah, man. Sorry, that one's just kind of funny.
Yeah,
Um, so there's yeah, definitely that one's ridiculous.
yeah.
Um,
How about for you? Some logos that are weird or so weird that they could even be funny.
um, what are some ones that I think are oh geez. I'm trying to think of one that's the one that comes to mind for me is the Oz logos because the lady who just does like that Oz logo like when she looks around she's
Oh
just
yeah.
like making a weird smile and I'm like lady calm down first of all um, so there's that one I'm trying to think of the other one that I thought was like kind of silly um, Ear Booker is
Yeah.
another one that's I think is funny because it's Weird Al. It's a Weird Al thing,
Yeah.
and
But honestly,
yeah,
I,
it's
I, I kind of hate that logo, ironically. Like, I don't have epilepsy or anything, but that one is really hard for me to even glance at because of the extremely rapidly flashing black and white lights and Weird Al screaming at the top of your lungs.
yeah.
I mean,
I
his
thought it's fun.
lungs.
Yeah, right. I get it, but that one's not for the faint of heart. But I think it's funny because it's supposed to be like deliberately ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um, I also like the weird Studio Canal logo. Um, there's the one where they're again. Oh wow, we're in space again.
Uh-huh.
The Studio Canal logo from I believe I want to say the 19 I'm trying to think like 1996, 97, 98 around that time where they're flying in space and you hear some random music like first you hear like someone just doing a kind of like a heave ho chant, they're chanting, they're going oh or whatever, and then you just hear like random ass sound effects and it's like no, not working. It's kind of funny. It makes no sense. Like I feel a Studio Canal trying too hard to be artsy, so that's why I think it's kind of funny to me. And a lot of Indian logos are also funny. If you're familiar with some Indian logos, some of them are really hilarious.
Yeah.
Um, like was it I'm trying to think. There's Murgon Enterprises, which is silly because it's just it's just a statue and some silly chanting.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of funny. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, Vatimon from Spain
Yes. Yeah.
is sort of funny because it's like first you see the eyes, then you see the silly effects of like the planets and the weird dissolves.
Yes.
And it's like really, it's super cheesy. I kind of chuckle every time I hear it, but
Yeah.
I don't chuckle as much because the music sounds so dang depressing. It's like, are we at a funeral or are we watching a bad Spanish B movie? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Yeah, I the Vadimon logo was one of my favorite logos to actually make a decent during classic logo remake Party 3 because I said this before in logo remaking 101 is how I like to whenever I'm remaking them I like to kind of put my own spin and add something that probably add something that the original didn't because
Mhm.
I'm making sort of a replica or a remake, not an exact duplicate. So I made the my remake of the Vadimon video logo. it had the eyes kind of looking back and forth as if it was thinking, "What the hell am I doing here?" And then yeah, and then we see the planets actually moving, and then the logo itself zooms in like uh, no, I don't mean to sound like full of myself, but I think I did manage to make it more presentable and decent and ironic as well, humorously speaking, than the original
Yeah.
logo.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
It's it's a legend. It's very hilarious.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
it's really funny.
yeah,
I like that one. But like I said, many of the Indian logos I think are very funny. There's this one called Dwarakish, I believe, and it's pretty much just it starts off serious. It's like, okay, here's the country of India, and then you see the founder of the studio acting like the MGM lion. He kind of just
oh yeah,
roars.
yeah, I saw
He
that one.
roars to the left, yeah, roars to the left, roars to the right, and then he makes like a weird ass laugh, and you're just like, that's kind of funny, and it makes no
Yeah,
sense.
no, yeah.
Most Indian logos fall in that category of, oh, they're trying to be scary, but it doesn't work.
Exactly. That's what I've been saying to myself too whenever I watch a compilation of scary logos, and one of them happens to be from India or somewhere close like that. I'm just, it's basically, I'm just saying to myself, what do they, does their mentality say that oh, to make a logo to keep everybody's attention, to catch their attention, well, the only things we need to add are loud music, lightning, and thunder, and some red as well, and lots of stormy, just melodramatic.
Yeah. And the big thing about Indian logos is, like, the thing is, some of those Indian studios have been around almost as long as the U.S. studios,
Yeah.
because they have Bollywood, and that's been around 30s, 40s, 50s, you name it.
Hmm.
Um, but some of their logos, either they just don't ever update, or when they do update it, they still look like they're stuck in like 1978. The best example I can think of is something called Shri Ram with two A's.
Yeah.
And you watch it and you're like, this is something from the 70s, and then you find out, nope, this was made in a 1998 movie, this was made for a 2000 movie, and you're just like, this is ridiculous. Like, because the thing is, you see the outline of one of their Hindu deities. I believe it's their monkey. I believe Haruman is the name of it, and
Right.
you see it just outlined in a neon color, and you're like, okay, this is so Scanimate. This is so 78. And then you see like a circle come in, kind of similar to like late 70s shapes come flying in. It's very neon, it's very Scanimate, and you see the lettering appear, um, you know again looking like it's coming in from a pocket dimension, which is again another trope that most 70s logos use. It's very old fashioned, and it looks like it's poorly animated, and you're like, this is from 98.
Yeah.
Like, oof.
Uh-huh. Yeah. There was one scary logo that I just remembered about. So it
Hmm.
it came from this obscure Canadian special called The Tin Toy. It's from 1992, and I remember seeing this on Treehouse TV during the holiday seasons, all the way back in like 2006. And there was one logo that will appear after the credits, the end credits music, by the way. It's soft, it's a peaceful clarinet, and then all of a sudden we have this very wild, very fast-paced, uh, dark, kind of brainy, marble-like logo for the National Arts Center of Canada. Like, you could look it up for yourself because honestly, that's a logo that should be talked about amongst the scary kind. Just look up the Tin Soldier 1992 and you should be able to find not just the special by itself, but also the end credits, and you would see the National Arts Center for Canada logo that I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, some Canadian logos are vaguely threatening. Some Canadian distribution companies are vaguely threatening, like from Canada. So that's not surprising to me. It's pretty interesting. Like that logo in and of itself, National Art Center for Canada, is very quirky and strange. So I do see how it can be off-putting to some.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, how about we talk about some logos that we find to be underrated? I'll
Oh,
have you start off, Youngblood.
putting the pressure on me. Underrated. Oh man, oh man. I don't know if many people talk about it, but I'm going to mention it here because it was also mentioned in chat. Bandai Emotion. Bandai Emotion is an amazing, amazing logo. I don't know if many people really talk about Bandai Emotion, but it's probably one of my favorite logos of all time. Bandai Emotion, I think this Bandai Emotion logo is probably from like the mid 80s, I believe, close to early 90s. It features the famous, of course, the Moai statues. Um, but what I love about it is the music's fantastic. The animation's fantastic. It looks like you're in Tron half the time you're watching it. It fades in perfectly. Like the golden text comes in very awesomely. There's a bunch of lasers. I love it. I think it's I believe it's, again, I think the 80s variant of the Bandai Emotion logo. It's really, really cool. It even though it's probably from 84. Yeah, it's from 84. I just checked. Apparently, it's from 84, but it doesn't look like it's dated. It looks timeless. So I think it's underrated. Not many people talk about that.
Yeah. And for me, I really like the RCA Columbia Pictures International video logo. The animation is, yeah, it's kind of dated in some aspects, but what really makes it for me is the movement synthesize fanfare.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
really wish they would have used it in North America. Like I don't recall if they ever did. Like they only use a very basic RCA Columbia Pictures home video logo with just the logo itself either standing there or probably spinning. But the international variant is really it's really good, at least for the time, especially with the music.
Yeah. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, it has a nice animation. I like how they include both the RCA and Columbia Pictures logo.
Yeah.
That's also pretty cool. Um, Another one that I think is underrated is a Thorn EMI. Thorn EMI has a very cool logo. I love how it starts off as a sphere and then it forms up into the Thorn EMI. I want to say it's like a nail sticking out of a floor. It's like there's 3 points. It's kind of like a chevron, but not really, because you have 2 points and then you have a central point sticking out. So it's like a weird, you know, I guess you could say a push pin thing going on. It looks like an upside down push pin, but then it's in a square. Then the Thorn EMI is in a square. Then the video's in a rectangle. It's so neatly organized, and the music's very calming. Not many people talk about that one, but that one's really, really nice. I think it's also one of my favorites. It's very calming. The animation's fantastic, and it's a very interesting way it forms up. Like it has a unique sort of progression. So I love that one. And another one that readily comes to mind for me is so there's Thorn EMI, and then oh shoot, there was another one and I just forgot. Shoot. But yeah, I'll stick with Thorn EMI and I'll think about another one in just a moment.
Yeah.
But Thorn EMI is super, super cool.
Yeah. Another one for me is Caravan Pictures, which, if you don't know, it was a small division of Walt Disney Pictures during the early to late 90s. The logo
Hmm.
consists of the shadow of a man just walking into the sunset as the footage zooms out and the Caravan Pictures text fades in. I really like the visuals and especially the fanfare. There are two versions of it, but the differences are pretty subtle.
Yeah, and the guy's wearing a hat, right? He's wearing a hat and he's just
Yes.
walking some nondescript road. It looks like he's walking across like a bridge and there's water surrounding him on either end. It's pretty cool. I like that one. Yeah.
Yeah. and apparently it's a reference to a some movie. I forgot what it is. I could go to COT Wiki right now, but they're apparently dead. They say that the URL is not found, like they're still
Mhm.
going under construction.
Oh, I can explain later on in the program why that's the case,
Yeah,
because it's not technically dead.
I know.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like oh yeah, I just remembered the other logo. Media. I mentioned it before in the podcast, but Media Home Entertainment. What I love most about Media Home Entertainment, and this is like I think this is an Australian fixture. It's an Australian home entertainment video distributor. But what I love most about it is I believe this is again from the 80s, mid to late 80s, early 90s. It was featured before many horror films. Um, but I do love the animation. I love the music that's used. The music is very, very majestic, um, and I love how the letters become metallic and it zooms back in, showing you that it is media. Two quibbles about it though: it's also in space, and when media was acquired by Heron Communications, they just kind of like pasted the byline on the bottom and they just kind of like put it there last minute. Like you can tell that it was animated separately from the logo, and it just kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. But I like it all the same. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. Um, okay, I'm trying to think of another underrated logo. Well, let me see. Well, I think I'll mention there was this Walt Disney Home Video logo from I think 1983 or 1981. You may know it. It has a disco version of When You Wish Upon a Star playing, and it has neon versions of Mickey and Donald's faces, and it just shows photos of some classic Disney films before we get to the famous castle in Disneyland, and it shows the Walt Disney Home Video logo. It wasn't really used in North America, but uh, it wasn't used in North America as like a home video logo like that. At that time, they were still using the giant neon Mickey, but it was used as the intro for the Wonderful World of Walt Disney at that time.
Oh yeah, it's pretty awesome. I do remember that variant. Like obviously, yeah, it wasn't featured in North America, but it was so interesting. I do like it.
Yeah, me too. Oh, and I think you agree with me with how awesome this logo is as well. The Cartoon Network logo that's seen at the beginning of the Powerpuff Girls movie. You know the one.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Yeah,
yes, I do. I do like the Powerpuff Girls movie, so I am familiar with it.
yeah. Like that the image of all of those characters from Cartoon Network, Hanna-Barbera, and Warner Brothers. It's often used like whenever you see a discussion of how great Cartoon Network was back in the day, or just illustrating uh late 90s, early 2000s nostalgia. You are very, very likely to see that shot of all of those characters gathered together in the movie
Yeah,
theater. Yeah,
and it kind of shows how Cartoon Network was before they made original programming. They were very good at acquiring properties because since it was kind of like a Ted Turner project.
yeah.
So what Ted Turner was very good at doing was grabbing media. Ted Turner
Uh-huh.
was great at purchasing libraries and properties from other studios, which is why MGM was kind of hollowed out by him. But thanks to him, he was able to put Hanna-Barbera cartoons on his channel, put Warner Brothers stuff on his channel, like Looney Tunes. That's why you see Elmer Fudd there. And, you see, the Flintstones, you see, Boo Boo, because he was able to get Hanna-Barbera stuff and cartoon and Warner Brothers stuff at the same time, and that was an entirely new concept, especially in the '90s.
Yes.
You never would have imagined like a place where you can watch your cartoons constantly, because even in the '90s, people remembered all those Hanna-Barbera cartoons and all those Warner Brothers cartoons, and they didn't really get much replay around that time. So Ted Turner used the same principle he used when he purchased movies from MGM. He founded Turner Broadcast, was it TCM, and then for the more dramatic shows he used TNT, and then for his other properties TBS, and then he did that with Cartoon Network. So it's really really interesting how like that logo is emblematic of how they were able to acquire properties and use that to gain viewership. So it's pretty cool. Also, I just want to make a quick point about that. I do like how Zorak is in the front,
Yes.
and he's probably like one of my favorite characters from Adult Swim. So it's pretty cool
Mine
how he
too.
was like featured. Yeah, it's kind of like I like how he was like featured towards the front, and I also love how Samurai Jack is all like, "Why you all sitting next to me?" So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. It's like, and you see something new every time you watch it. So it's also another reason why the logo's pretty neato.
Yeah. Well, going back to Adult Swim characters, I know Brack
Hmm.
is there, and I don't know if you could notice it, but Daffy Duck is sitting next to him, and as Brack is sort of laughing. By the way, it's the same animation they use on the Brack show. You could kind of see that Daffy is kind of annoyed by him.
Oh yeah, Daffy's annoyed by everyone though, so I'm not surprised. But also, shout outs to Snagglepuss in the front.
I know you like him.
Amongst
I
Oh yeah,
remember,
Snagglepuss is one of my faves. Yep.
yeah, you mentioned him in your old Q&A.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Snagglepuss is still my boy. He's still one of my favorites.
yeah. Okay, so how about we talk about favorite logo YouTubers? Well, aside from you, of course.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I wasn't even going to plug myself because there's actually people that actually make logo content more consistently. So I guess some of my favorite. I guess I'll go first.
Right.
Some of my favorite logo, I guess, content creators, because now there's actually a bunch of new content creators. I used to like Logo Archive when he made stuff, like when he made those. I think he made a documentary on Village Roadshow, and I really liked that because he's from
Yeah,
Australia. So
yeah.
Logo Archive, Pepsi 9072 because he has a bunch of logo captures. When what was it? Steven Cesar when he used to make content.
I know.
Um,
He's just about
when
as
he
underrated as you.
well, thank you. Yeah, like
Yeah,
SC Media Works. Yeah, No Entertainment for sure.
yes,
Um, because Steven Cesar he did the Rise and Fall series, which I thought was really
yeah,
cool because
yeah,
it kind of was based on like the Rise and Fall of Orion, the Rise and Fall of Deke. Those are my favorites.
yes,
Um, No Entertainment because he made logo compilations. He made logo was it his favorite logos, and he made like top 10 worst logo compilations. Those were cool. I like those. Like, what was it like Argentinian logos that he talked about? That's what got me into Argentinian logos was that guy. So props to him for that.
uh-huh.
Um, what are some other logo content creators that I like?
Have you
Um,
heard of Mr. Director 8?
I have heard of him, but I'm not 100% familiar.
Yeah, it's one word. Mr. Director and
Director
8.
8.
8 spelled as a word.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. He has Shadow as his icon, right? Okay. I haven't watched a lot of his content, but I do know some of his stuff. Yes.
Yeah, I like
Um.
the personality in his countdowns, including those deliberately cheesy fake commercials he would do, like uh like a good neighbor, Nathan Farm is on your side.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Oh man, that's okay. One that okay. Another dude that I really like is Adam Martin. Adam Martin spelled with a Y, and he has close to 10,000 subscribers, and
right.
he does these things called ident reviews. So he's from Britain, and he does ident reviews of like BBC Two logos. He did one on BBC Scotland. He did one on BBC 293 where they did like a 60s, homage.
Yeah.
Um, he does a lot of these awesome ident reviews, and he does like a very good job
Good evening.
talking about his views on that and the background behind the logos. He did a month ago. He did a review of the BBC video idents.
Yes.
So of course, and some of them are also considered scary, quote unquote.
Yeah, I think
Um,
the 1990 logo is kind of overrated in its scariness.
Exactly. And some people even have issues with yeah, that one I don't know why. I feel it's a little bit depressing, but it's not like I feel it's defeated, but it's not scary.
Yeah,
Um I do like the earlier BBC video logo where I think it's from the 70s and 80s where it's you see like a central four-pointed star and then the BBC video wording kind of like
yeah,
they kind of like is spelled out, but you see a bunch of like prismatic effects. You see a bunch of colors, and it's very Scanimate, but it just shines at the end. It's very nice. It's a very nice logo. But why people think it's scary is that apparently at the end the logo reverses its animation. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, if the logo is reversed, it means that it's like it's coming to an end, and it's kind of scary, and it's kind of like it signifies death." And you're just like, "No, not really." But but yeah, I like the BBC video. So Adam Martin is another one I recommend.
yeah. I'm looking at his catalog of videos right now, and I'm gonna
Hmm.
put the Walt Disney Home Video ident in my watch later.
Yeah,
Oh, and
definitely.
have you heard of Matthew Mayfield?
Matthew Mayfield. Yes, I have heard of him. Hmm.
Yeah, he's close with SC Media Works. He did
Hmm.
a countdown of MGM home video logos. If you haven't checked that out yet, you should.
Yeah, I really should because I do know of his content. I did kind of fall off the wayside with his content, but I am familiar with his logo captures and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
absolutely.
and he's taken on the logo mysteries series from Steven.
Yeah, Logo Mysteries. That's awesome. Yeah, I loved watching that. I think he did one on Tat recently, I believe. I know
Uh,
he did
on
the
Tat.
Tat logo. Yeah, the or something like that. I think he
Well,
did.
actually,
Three
no. It's not on the Tat logo. It's actually on sound system logos like Dolby Stereo and
Oh, like
DTS.
THX.
Yeah,
Oh, right. Oh yeah, the Cimarron variant of THX that everyone
yeah,
talks about.
yeah. Well,
Got it.
he brings up. I think he only brings up the Tat logo just as an illustration on how there are still a lot of logos out there that have some mysteries behind them.
Right, exactly. I think someone did talk about the Tat logo at some point. I know that. I think SC Media Works kind of touched on Tat a little bit too.
Yeah,
Yeah, right, exactly. Logo Mysteries. I think even Logo Archive himself was featured on Logo
he
Mysteries
was.
at some point too. Oh yes, I remember that.
Yeah, and let me see. I'm trying to. Oh, there's CCG88. Have you seen any of his content?
I have seen CCG88. I have seen his History of Galmont, like the Mysteries of Galmont video. I've watched that.
Yeah,
Um, I know that what was it? I think he did some logo captures of local PBS stations, I believe. But I know that he also did logo evolutions, like one. I think that's all the one for Tomorrow Entertainment, which that logo is also. If we're talking about logos that are unsettling, Tomorrow Entertainment has some pretty unsettling ones. So I will give if anyone says anything about that, I will give them that. Um, Tomorrow
Tomorrow
Entertainment is kind of weird.
Entertainment.
Like
I think I've heard of
the
them before. Let me look them
oh
up.
yeah, Tomorrow Entertainment is the one with the hummingbird that flies around and has some
Okay,
really weird sound effects.
okay,
They're kind of they kind of were founded by General Electric, and
yeah,
they distributed content and created content for TV. Oof.
okay,
But there's this one variant where in Tomorrow Entertainment there's a hummingbird flying through the Tomorrow Entertainment logo. It kind of looks like there's a T and then there's E's coming out of it. Kind of looks like the Avco Embassy logo, and it's just the music is just very unsettling because it's like a weird synth number. It's very like fast and repetitive, kind of like how a hummingbird flies. So it kind of gives you a little bit anxiety watching it, but it's really cool
yeah.
and also
Uh,
weird.
Yeah, how about I mention another local YouTuber who's just starting up. He's only at uh they're only at 374 subscribers. SENF Films and TV, with SENF is an abbreviation for Scary Entertainment Nostalgic Fun, I believe.
Okay, yeah, I have not heard of them before.
Okay. Oh, you could check them out if you want. It's still kind of throwing in addition to just uploading logo captures. They do top tens as well.
Oh yeah, I see it now. They do top five weirdest Russian. Oh, weirdest Thai logos. Nice.
Yep.
So they're also on the whole logos from around the world shtick. I like that. Yeah, Japanese, Thai, Australian. Yep. Yeah, there's some very interesting logos from those countries. Absolutely, no
And
question about that.
yeah. Well, I'm just looking at my subscription list to see if there's any other people in the local community who I think are worth recommending. But you mentioned a couple of them already who I love as
Hmm.
well, like Steven Cesar and No Entertainment. Like if you guys,
Absolutely.
yeah, if you guys haven't watched them, please do. They're good. Even though Steven is retired, his videos are still up, like his top tens and his Rise and Fall series.
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, I'm going to go back probably to watch his Morgan Creek Rise and Fall because I do want to touch on that in the future.
Yeah,
And I do want to reboot my series at some point. So I might go back to that old content and review it, see
yeah,
what's going on with that.
yeah. And speaking of the local corner, what was your favorite episode to work on?
Oh, good question. Um, I think it's a tie between Paramount and Warner Brothers because Paramount had a long history, but their variants were super cool. I do like the Paramount fanfare that they used for the 1979 Blue Mountain variant, as well as
Yeah,
like the 1984, 85, 86 variant. Oh no, sorry, more so 87, excuse me, variant for their for with the CGI and the mountain and stuff like that. I like those variants, but I love the history behind it, and I loved how their mountain kind of evolved as well as the number of stars, and I love how consistent it was mostly too. So I loved working with that. I loved learning like Paramount's history and who acquired it. So Gulf and Western, obviously, and then later on Paramount Communications, blah blah. I liked doing that, and the Warner Brothers one I really liked because, as we mentioned earlier, the massive detour it made from the Shield doing the whole W7 thing, and then the Saul Bass thing, and then the Shield thing.
yeah.
And now I think they're changing it again. I think they're gonna. I don't know if there's really any evidence of it now because it was going to be on Scoob, but when people tried to screen cap Scoob because it was on like online providers only, I believe, like online video streaming services. It was just the regular Warner Brothers logo, but from what I heard, the WV logo is going to change again back to like the earlier variants that you saw prior to the expanded Shield, where it looks like a skinnier Shield and with older word font. And I think they're going to use like a blue and white aesthetic for it. But I loved doing those two. Those were the most fun that I've had.
Okay, yeah. The Warner Brothers episode is the first one I saw of yours, and that would, well, to be honest, I think most of them are great. Well, probably my least favorite might be the 20th Century Fox episode, but that
Mm.
was just the pilot to the series.
Yeah, that was my first one, and I wasn't really sure what I was doing. Context behind that. I kind of thought of it in desperation because I wanted to make new content, and I wasn't really in a good place in my life. So for me, it was like, what can I do to try to entertain people? And then I came back to the whole, well, what if I made a documentary series on logo evolutions because no one's really done that before. So I did that, and I didn't get to all the variants, and I didn't really talk that much about 20th Century Fox, and my details were kind of, lazy, and I recorded it in my car, and I did
Really?
all. I'm not, that's a trivia fact that you can take home to the bank is that I recorded most of the video in my car because I was just, you know, I wanted to make sure that I had my ideas clearly outlined. Um, so
Okay. Yeah.
so yeah,
Oh, I just remember about
very rudimentary stuff.
yeah, I just remember about another YouTuber, TR3X Productions. He's pretty good.
Oh yeah, TR3X, right? Yeah, they do a lot of logo histories, which I really like. They're very comprehensive. My favorite one is the Titanus one
Yeah.
because the logo barely changed over the course of 80 years, but I do like how they chronicled that.
Yes. And his most recent video is the Tea of Wonder logo compilation. Just to be sure, did you originate that nickname during your logo corner episode of United Artists?
Uh, I believe I did. I think I kind of. I don't know if I looked at it on the CLG wiki and I was like, "Ooh, that's what they called it." Um, but I think I kind of invented it in my head and I just ran with it just to make it as like a silly little funny joke that
Yeah,
recurred. So I think I did originate that. I can double check with the CLG wiki right now, but I think I did come up with that myself.
yeah.
If anybody wishes to correct me in the audience, please let me know.
I know for sure you came up with the nickname for uh the Interglobal Home Video logo, aka the discount transparent Saturn looking Earth film in Space of Doom, which they did use
Yeah.
as a nickname for that variant.
Oh, they actually did. I actually did not notice that. I
Yeah, they
used
did.
that as like a very deliberate joke. Um, I did not know that they did that. That's really funny.
Yeah.
I should check that. Yeah, I actually came up with the Tea of Wonder because I'm looking at the new iteration of the CLG wiki and I don't see anything to that effect there. So yeah, I did come up with that. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
mhm.
Okay. Moving on. Oh, what were your favorite logo discoveries? They don't have to be discoveries that you made yourself, but say you're just browsing on the internet and then all of the sudden you see uh uh a variant that you didn't know exists. It could be the first variant of a logo that you didn't know exists, like you thought that this variant was the first, but in actuality there was one that was before it. So, and that's what I mean by a local discovery. Which one was your favorite?
Oh, yeah. So I have yet to discover a logo myself. So hopefully I do in the near future. But one that I found that I thought was really cool were some Viacom variants, Viacom Viadude variants in different colors. Apparently, according to the Lost logo wiki, um, there was a Viacom variant that was in pink. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Somebody probably chroma keyed it to a pink background, and I'm sure it's all a lie because there were some people who were like, ooh, here's a rare variant, and then later found out it was a lie. But no, there's apparently a pink Viacom variant that's or red or whatever, and it's really interesting. Apparently it was lifted from like an episode of Andy Griffith, but it looks super cool. I don't know if it's on YouTube anymore, but when I found it, I was like, wow. And then, oh yeah, another one that I thought was really interesting was if you're familiar with the Weiss Global Enterprises logo.
Oh,
Um,
I think I've seen it before.
yeah, that one also is kind of weird. It's there's it has a weird synthesizer. There's lots of like bleeps and bloops, and there's like a W and an
Oh
E,
yeah,
but it
I
kind
see
of
it.
looks like
I see it
yeah,
now.
it's kind of like the Tomorrow Entertainment logo where like all the letters are just bunched together and you can't really see any letters. But there's a color variant for it. That I didn't know existed for years, and then one day I just looked at Logic Smash. Oh yeah, by the way, Logic Smash is also one of my favorite
Yeah.
logo YouTubers. And Eric S, if you're watching this, thank you for putting me into, because that's the name of the guy behind it. Thank you for putting me on the CLG wiki, and thanks for your interest in the logo corner. I hope that you're still around making content. But yeah, he posted a color version of the Weiss Global Enterprises logo. There's like a blue background, and the lettering looks like a bunch of rocks. And I'm
Yeah.
like, whoa, that's pretty interesting to
Yeah.
me.
I've seen it in the
Um,
search results right now.
yeah, I did not know it existed for many years, and then when I found it, I was like, whoa, hang on, hang on.
Yeah.
So those two I come readily to mind for me.
hmm Well, for me, it's kind of a bittersweet example, but the at the very beginning of 2018, there was a partial evidence of what the tech communications company really looked like.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, some guy had a bunch of commercials, and then he uploaded commercials, and then there was one for One Day at a Time. There was like the ending credits, and then you kind of see the Tat logo appear. The star kind of fades out. Like it kind of zooms out, you see the tat logo, and then it just cuts off.
Yeah.
And then it's like, really? Are you serious right now?
I know. I think you could compare it to that scene in SpongeBob, specifically the Lost episode, where it was just a bunch of cheap cycles, and Patchy was so angry and disappointed by that. Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I do remember that because I used to watch SpongeBob. Yeah, it's definitely the same thing. It's like, are you serious? We're so close. And then it's just like, come on, man. But at least it disproved a lot of like the tat logos that were flying around on YouTube because some people were making reconstructions and it's like, oh, this is what it really looks like. It's like, no, 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 no. That's not what it looks like. You stop that.
Yeah,
Stop making fake logos. Come on.
I know. And although I'm just remembering referring back to one of the first couple of episodes of logo mysteries. There was this Sinar logo that was completely fake, but it did look legitimate. It had a grid of foreman followed by the Sinar logo zooming in, and CGI that doesn't look too out of place for the time, but
Hmm.
apparently it was just somebody, I don't know, hijacking the Wikipedia article, saying that this imaginary variant existed, even though it didn't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the Sinar logo is that example that you brought up is very similar to the Coke burst problem that happened. A
Yeah,
lot of people were like, "Ooh, there's a rare Coke burst," and essentially what that was, for anybody that's in the audience who has no idea what's going on, the Coke burst variant is pretty much the CPT logo, Columbia Pictures Television logo, that has like the semicircle with the sun in the center. The orange variant, not the blue because you're in television land with Columbia, so you have to have the orange variant. And apparently, there's a Sunburst CPT logo that allegedly had a Coca-Cola Pictures byline underneath it, which kind of makes sense because Columbia Pictures did have they had the Torch Lady with the Coca-Cola byline underneath it, and Embassy had a Coca-Cola byline underneath it, so it made sense. And people were like, "That's a very interesting and rare variant." And then later on, people found out that it was a huge Photoshop job, and that people were like, "Yeah, this is fake." And the guy who I believe his name was Super Mario, who offered the screenshots, was exposed for manipulating the footage to make it look like that there was a Coca-Cola byline underneath. And in fact, many of his logo captures were later found to be fraudulent and
yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
So,
That
so
reminds me
that
of that
Mhm.
reminds me of SC Media Works' video on logo trolls.
Oh yeah, a lot of people are logo trolls. I feel I guess that's like a very blanket statement for me. It's just people that are just trying to cause trouble. Like they either make fake logos or they're saying, "Oh, I found these variants," and you look at them and you're like, "No, they're not real. What are you doing?" And it's just it kind of degrades the whole logo capturing scene because people go out of their way to find it. They use internet archives, they use their own DVDs, they buy old DVD pressings because sometimes those logos are preserved on there. um, and then yeah, this like the Cimarron logo, as we mentioned before, by THX, some people thought it was fake too because nobody could provide evidence for it, you
Yeah,
know, like this all that. And then people then say, oh well, there is, and then later it's fake. And then other people say, oh well, there is, it's there, and then it's later proven to be fake. Some say it's real, some say it's not. So it's just, it causes a lot of general confusion, and it's just really it's a pain to deal with. I mean, that's why I kind of do my own logo capturing, and I don't really take at face value what people say with regards to logo captures because anybody could manipulate it, because there's some people who are really good at manipulating logos, you know,
yeah,
especially if you take it off a VHS tape, you're going to see if there's manipulation quite easily. Like some people think you can't realize that, but some people have very acute eyes. So
yeah.
tread wisely.
Right. Okay, so for my next topic to talk about is regarding plastering, and I'm someone who kind of gets a little annoyed with logo plastering. SC Media Works did a whole video about on the top 10 annoying logos, and he highlights stuff like the dreaded Sony Pictures television logo and Cookie Jar Entertainment and the current MGM how they would just erase the existence of their respective predecessors.
Yeah, it's a pain. I mean, the Sony Pictures Entertainment, like the Sony Pictures television logo by itself is a nice logo to look at. I do
Yes,
like the music and the animations, very nice.
especially with the
But
full
when you,
motion.
oh yeah, and by itself, the logo in isolation isn't a problem. But yeah, if you're using it to plaster, everything, and in fact, many video streaming services are guilty of the same. I actually tried watching Taxi the other day, and they plastered the old Paramount logos with newer versions of the Paramount logo, but they retained the old music.
Yeah.
And it's like that's even worse because you have the old music, but you have the visuals plastered over. It's like, boy, if you're gonna plaster it, at least plaster it with the whole new logo, not with the old audio. But even in that case, Sony just plasters all of their old stuff. And yeah, I understand they want brand unification, but I don't know. Their older logos, there's no real reason. There's no real reason for it other than they're rebroadcasting it on television. Maybe on television there's a better argument, but I feel that if they're releasing it on DVDs, why does it matter? Your logo's on the DVD cover. Your logo's in the initial, menu options. Sometimes it's even presented before, and you can't even skip it. So what's the point of plastering over your own television shows if you're watching it on DVD or Blu-ray? Like, what's the point? I also feel with streaming services the same thing should apply, because streaming services, you're rewatching old content,
Right.
and sure, some of those companies are defunct, some of those companies have been reorganized, but there really isn't a reason for it because we know that Sony owns it and they make it clear on the website. So I mean, I would rather they keep it for the sake of historical context and accuracy. I
Yeah.
think that logos have a very interesting history, and just plastering over that is kind of like an oversight and not allowing us to understand the history of those logos. I mean, what reason other than to maintain brand unification and to make sure that they're current? Like, I feel with anything other than television, that should not be a thing. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I pretty much agree with you on that. And for me,
Mm-hmm.
basically what I have to say is you would be very, or rather, I actually no, anybody would be very lucky if they're watching an episode of The Simpsons from seasons 1 through 3 and they catch the original 20th Century Fox television logo with the word television zooming in and landed on the word century,
Mm-hmm.
without it being plastered by the 20th television logo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. The problem with plastering is that A, it can be inconsistent, and B, they do not a good job.
Yes.
Case in point, you sometimes see older variants of the logo anyway. So
Yeah.
what's the point? Like, you see it on TV and you're just like, oh, well, there it is. And it's a nice surprise because it's interesting seeing those older variants. I would much rather that. I mean, TV Land does a better job, I think, of doing that. Other television stations that try to keep those shows as authentic as possible do that. I remember many times seeing Desilu on the TV, and they keep that so that you maintain that authenticity. I think that's really cool. Stations that, but the thing is, like, those there's that, but then you
Wait,
also
hang on. Hang on. My YouTube says that there's not enough video to maintain a smooth streaming. It says that it's become poor.
oh, okay.
Yeah. So unfortunately, it seems like we have to wrap it up because there's gonna be some lag, and it says there won't be any
Oh,
smooth streaming. But wait, let me just check the playback.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
So unfortunately,
Yeah.
it seems like we have to wrap it up because there's gonna be some lag, and it says there won't be any
Oh,
smooth streaming. But wait, is
let me
everything
just
okay
check
on
the
your end?
playback. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so. I
but
can hear
unfortunately, it
you
seems
just
like we
fine.
have to
I'm
wrap it
looking
up
on the playback. It seems
because
to not be slowing
there's gonna
down.
be some let me know, guys, if there's any
Oh,
smooth on your end. But in the chat, let me know if anything's wagging.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think
but
so. I can hear
unfortunately, it
you
seems
just
like we
fine.
have to
Yeah, chat. Just let us know if things are out of control over here, and we sound like a logo from the '80s where it's like.
so until we hear from someone if the connection is still good. Uh, mind talking about some of your personal favorite logos.
Mm-hmm. Some of my personal favorite logos.
Yeah.
Some of my personal favorite logos would have to be I mean some of the of course the major movie studios. Uh, the Columbia Pictures logo from '76 I think is super cool. Um, it was composed by Suzanne Ciani, so the music is out there. The animation is out there because it's like a reverse Columbia Pictures logo. It zooms in on the torch, and then it turns into like this semicircle, blue semicircle with like a with a sunburst in the center, and it becomes bluer, and then the wording fades in. It's just oof. I love that one. That's one of my favorite logos.
Yeah.
Um, I love that one a lot. Um, I like the Paramount Pictures logo from '87. I love the one from '79. Those have really great music. I like the MGM logo from I believe it was '74 where they did their 50th anniversary. That one's pretty cool because it has like different colored wording, and the lion looks very clear in that one. Um, I also like the I mentioned Paramount, I mentioned Columbia, I mentioned MGM. I like Universal. Some of the Galmont variants are pretty nice. Um, like I said, Thorny MI. Um, geez, there's so many ones that I really like. Bandai, Emotion. Um, oh geez, like some. Oh yeah, some of the ITV logos, like ATV from like '78 to '82. Ooh, that one's awesome. What are the other ITV logos that I really really like? Grampian, Yorkshire Television, and Granada. So some of those are some of my favorites off the top of my head, and some PBS logos too, of course.
Yeah. Well, as for me, I have a playlist of my favorite logos, but I'm pretty sure I
Mhm.
have to update it because some of the videos they were either privated or deleted. But right off the top of my head, the 1985 Walt Disney Pictures logo and the 1999 Warner Brothers Pictures logo, also
Mhm.
the 1995 Nelvana logo, and I mentioned the 1988 RCA Columbia Pictures International Video, um, and
Mhm.
1983's C no 1984 1984's CBS Fox video, and and the TriStar logo also from 1984, and the Teletoon logo I already mentioned is pretty nostalgic, as well as the CTW logo from 1997 and Sony Wonder as well. And I'm just running from the top of my head uh, uh, Walt Disney Classics from 1988 I love as well. And I think I already mentioned, I don't think I mentioned it already, but Warner Home Video from 1985. Like I could just be here forever.
Mhm.
And I know soon we have to wrap up. But yeah, those are my favorite logos that I get excited with seeing and playing over and over again because of the music and the visuals.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of logos that I just go back and repeat. I mean, I also kind of made a playlist myself of some logos that I think are super cool. Like, the Media Home Entertainment logo is another example. There's some TV logos that I really like. Some of the local variants of like Fox and CBS and UPN. I kind of just go back to every so often. WB, Kids WB, the bumpers. Some of those I just go back to all the time. WPIX. There are some logos for that are really cool. Even the Screen Gems and Viacom Via Doom are fascinating. Some of them, those are some of my favorite. Some of those are some of my favorites because it's just interesting how much intrigue surrounds the both of them. Some of those I just go back. There's those. There's some Australian logos I really like 10. That one's really cool. Like the 10 channel logos, 10 channel IDs. There's some Japanese logos like Toei Films. That one's super cool. Like the Toei Films where you're at the it looks like you're at a shoreline, and then there's water crashing on the rocks, and you see like the triangular Toei logo come in with the Japanese characters. That's super cool. There's also another underrated logo that I forgot to mention that's also one of my favorites. It's called Izaro Films, and that's a Spanish film distribution logo. The music is pretty great, and even though it's just pictures of like the island of Izaro, the font's awesome. It's chroma keyed in a way where it's cheesy, but it works, and I like that one a lot as well. So those are many examples. I could probably think of more examples, but knowing me and knowing how my brain works with logos, I could probably think of many after the podcast is over. But those are the ones that come readily to mind. Oh yeah, and the Nirvana logo too. I love the Nirvana logo.
Yeah, and I was just wondering, what's the name of the logo whose music that you use for your commentaries? You know that one, the one that goes da 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 da.
Yeah, that's Izaro Films.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because I
That's
remember,
Izaro Films.
yeah, I was I was looking at some logos, probably some cheesy ones, and I came across that one, and hey, that's Youngblood Fantasy 91's theme song for his commentaries.
Yeah, that's the one that I use because it's underrated. Not many people know about it, and it has a very nice background. Like it's probably one of the few Spanish logos that I really, really like.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I forgot to mention the two of them. Canon and Carolco are also some favorites of mine too. I forgot to mention those. Canon and Carolco are both really good.
Yes. And um, I'm just going for my what's here up. Just a couple more points to bring up. So yeah,
Sure.
you want to talk about CLG Wiki? I know for me as a longtime logo fan, I would go to it. I've been a regular visitor of it since 2008, and oh look, the connection says that it's good again. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So yeah, CLG Wiki. I would go on it all the time, but now it's going through this reconstruction, which I hope which kind of worries me because it's like over a decade of work, and the original site is no longer like it's existed, or rather, it's it's still building up again, like they're starting over from scratch, like I'm
Hmm.
trying to wonder. Uh, like, wait, hold on. So basically, I want you to share your thoughts on what's going on with CLT Wiki, the s-
Hmm.
the changes that they're
Yeah.
going through.
Okay. So from what I know, because I'm in the CLG Wiki Discord on Discord, from what I know and from what I've gathered, um, basically the original CLG Wiki was on this place called Wiki Foundry. And if you don't know what Wiki Foundry is, neither does anybody else. Because Wiki Foundry, its only main source of revenue is CLG Wiki because of the high foot traffic that CLG Wiki gets. So what happened was the owner of Wiki Foundry, whose name is Travis, got really annoyed when people from CLG Wiki pointed out that Flash is going to be retired in favor of HTML4 by December of 2020. And the reason why people brought that up to Travis is because many of the uploads, like the upload format that they use is JPEG, and they use Flash components to upload graphics, and they also use Flash components for other aspects of the website. Now, if you're going to be somebody who owns a domain name and pays for it every year, you need to ensure that you are updated to the newest technology and the newest systems and protocols that the internet uses. And if Flash is a primary component of WikiFoundry, that's a problem because it's going to be inoperable. But apparently, when people brought it up to Travis, he got super annoyed, claiming that, oh, well, all you people do is complain. So he shut down the forums and he banned a bunch of users randomly. So he actually IP banned them.
Okay.
So a lot of people got super tired of that, especially considering the CLG Wiki had many problems prior to that. There was drama in the forums. People have been deleting users for no reason. People have been invading the CLG Wiki, trolling everyone. There's been a lot of recurrent issues, and in fact, there was talk of moving from WikiFoundry way before this incident happened, but it was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. Oh yeah, HTML5. Yeah, thanks for that, Angry John. So yeah, it's from Flash to HTML5. Obviously, I don't know anything either. I shouldn't have a domain name, but so a lot of people are moving away from the WikiFoundry, and in fact, people thought of that massive exodus for years. So this was kind of like the major impetus for people to move to what is called Mirahies or Myrahies. So Myrahies is a wiki farm, and essentially you can make articles in the style of Wikipedia. So they're moving to there because Mirahies has multiple wikis. It is not reliant on CLG for its primary profit like Travis was. And because Travis was kind of just being a pain in the butt because of his negative response and because of him saying, I pay monthly for this domain, it's like, then how about you help fix it? You're in charge of the domain. So they're trying to get away from that, and they're reestablishing themselves on Myrahies. Now, yes, there are pros and cons. Pros being you're reestablishing in a newer place where it's more supported, they're more inclined to move to HTML5 rather than Flash. You're not dealing with somebody who owns the website and acts like immature if you bring stuff up. But yeah, the downside is CLG Wiki has been on WikiFoundry for close to a decade, maybe even more than that. And a lot of the logo foot traffic goes to CLG Wiki. So, and even then, if you look up logo histories, you will see that CLG Wiki is in the top 3 searches, and you end up with you click on it and it's a broken link.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are issues
right now.
Yeah, and there are issues with that. So if the Logopedia is obviously a good go-to as an alternative, but if you want the CLG Wiki, you have to dig deeper to Myrahies. So a lot of people are just saying, just go to Myrahies, make user posts on Myrahies, and just plug and signal boost the heck out of it, so that way it gets in the top 3 search entries. Obviously, it's not going to be a quick process. It might take time, but they have reconstructed a majority of the CLG Wiki. There are going to be some holes, which comes naturally from Google caching it and screen capturing all those articles. You're not going to be able to recover everything because it's kind of just like you're transferring entire pieces of information. You're going to lose it due to just how the website functions because of things that were probably uploaded years and years ago. So yeah, that's another con. But the pro is they've recovered at least 85 to 90% of it. So it's not going to be a huge loss. And even then, people can conduct research and use the Wayback Machine or use Google caching to find those missing articles if needed.
Yeah.
So that was really what happened with CLG Wiki.
Okay, and it didn't even mention about how there was uproar about the cheesy factor and scare factor being removed. I think last year or the year before.
Oh yeah, there was a huge backlash for that because the scary factor was part of CLG Wiki since its inception, and in fact, that's what got me into CLG Wiki in the first place, is that they had like a scary logo section. There was like a massive, I don't know if it was really a huge backlash. A lot of people actually did agree that the scary category was a little obsolete. But some people did take offense to that, and many of the people that took offense to that were little children who were like, "Give me back my scary logos." But there were also some veterans who were like, this is a massive shift. Not many people are going to be interested in that. But a majority of everybody agreed that scary logos, as we've talked about prior in the podcast, is a little bit inflated in importance. So, yeah, some people in the forums, there was like some forum drama about that. I didn't really like comb the forums at that point because, even though I was on CLG Wiki, I never really talked in the forums, but I did hear tell of people, arguing in the forums about that. So.
Yeah. Okay. I have a couple more points to bring up.
Mhm.
One of my favorite videos from Logo Archive was Logo Years, in which he talks about the logos of big and semi-big movie companies that were around during the date that he was born. In this case, sometime around 1995. Have you seen that, and have you considered doing a video like that for yourself?
Um, can you say that again? I'm sorry. I just want you to reword that for me.
Oh, Wogo Archive did a video called Wogo Years, in which he talks about the big movie company logos that were around during the date he was born. And
Oh, right.
yeah,
That's a good question. I don't know. I haven't. I have considered that, but then I figured Logo Archive did a better job. I have seen them. It's pretty cool. Like, yeah, seeing all those logos that were around in that year and it being used and implemented in movies. Maybe if I run out of other ideas, because I did have other ideas planned alongside the logo corner or revamping that to logo review. I have thought about, you know, bringing back my scary logos, scary in quotes, my scary like logo outliers, bringing
uh,
that back. Talking about PBS logos some more, bringing that around, things of that nature. So I might tackle those first, and then maybe consider that down the road later if I feel like I don't have many other ideas. Um, but yeah, we'll see about that because I was born in the 90s myself, so there probably are a lot of interesting 90s logos still around. I may talk about what I saw on the TV in the 90s, maybe like some TV logos, because that's more so applicable to me. But I'm not 100% sure if I'm sold on that idea since I think Logo Archive did a better job.
yeah. And there were two other people who did the same idea, including Matthew Mayfield.
Yeah, who also is pretty good at making those kinds of logo videos too. So,
Yes. Yeah.
so we'll see, maybe.
Okay. So, one other thing I want to discuss about, and it's the thing that my channel is most known for. It's logo remakes. There are
Mm.
so many people here on YouTube who like to recreate, reimagine logos, either ones that are already good or ones that deserve to be that deserved lots of fine tuning, and I was wondering what your opinion on the logo remakes on YouTube are.
It really depends on where you go for logo remakes. Some
Yeah,
people do a fantastic job, like G-Man
yes.
or several other people that I know, but
There's
then there
also
are others that.
there's also a TP Percival. You've heard of him?
Yes, I have,
Yeah,
absolutely.
his Walt Disney
I have.
Pictures remakes are amazing.
Yeah, and some of them are good,
Yeah,
but a lot of them are not so good.
yeah,
Some of them are just people recording their voice, and the animation and drawings are not that good. Sometimes they don't even use Blender. They
yeah.
use like Microsoft Paint to animate it, and it's like, no, not good.
I used to
So
be those guys
you used to be one of
for
those
the
people.
first two.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that that's what happens. Like I feel that a lot of them are younger kids who are trying to emulate those other users, and it doesn't work well because it looks very amateurish. It doesn't always work. I mean, if you want to make logo remakes, that's your choice, absolutely. But I'm not one to usually watch those because I'd rather see the real thing. If you want to do it as your passion and your project. Like No Entertainment does that
yes,
sometimes with his logo stuff, and sometimes he makes logo parodies. Him and David Walterberry or Daniel Walterberry, I'm sorry, they do the same thing. They make like logo parodies based on existing logo templates. So if you want to do that and put a spin on it, that's pretty innovative, and I think I like that more so than the actual logo remakes. But some logo remakes, like I've mentioned, are very good. So it's like once in a blue moon you see it, and you're like, wow, this is actually really well done. But I'm not really one to watch them that often, if it makes any sense.
Yeah, I get it. Although I have to mention a couple of remakes of logos that are considered to be awful, like uh, like the Boyd's video logo. If you know the original, it's dead silence and just this
Mm-hmm.
huge. It sort of looks like the Operation Primetime logo, only a bit worse, and it just zooms out and for
Oh.
almost a minute, like close to 2 minutes. Like that's the original, but from there's a remake here by this guy named Keon. Uh, I'll probably have to send it to you directly, but yeah, if you look up Boyd's Video UK, a logo that could be, you could see how good it is, uh, how much
Oh
effort
yeah.
was put into it.
Yeah, because oh man, that Boyd's logo ends up on so many worst logos ever lists. Like, oh my god, like Operation Primetime. It may look like Operation Primetime, but it is not Operation Primetime. Because Operation Primetime has amazing animation and amazing music. Oof, it's fantastic. But
Yes, I
Boyd's
agree.
is like, but Boyd's it's like, why don't we just film it and then awkwardly zoom out because we don't know how to use a camera, and then just put on a purple filter to change it out. Oops, the purple filter doesn't fully cover it, so you can see us changing out the cards, and then we zoom out more awkwardly. It's like, oh my god, it's 1 minute of what the heck's happening.
Yeah,
So I'd be interested to see like how they reimagine it.
yeah, I probably have to send it, uh, DM the link to you, and probably even share it in the community as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please. I'd be interested to see their take on it.
Yeah, and there's also the Fado logo. You know, the one that rips off the 1990 Universal Pictures logo and then steals a song from the Beatles.
Oh yeah, the I think it's like it's either Indian or Bangladeshi.
It's Indian.
Uh, it's Indian, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so it's one of the other. It's always one or the other with them. Yeah, they rip off All You Need Is Love, and then they rip off what was it, Free as a Bird or something, and they just use the universal globe. Yeah, and it's just like, let's just splotch some red on another globe. It's like very uh, very bootleg. Like a lot of those home video companies, like Argentina and India, they're just so bootleg. There's this one Argentinian logo called Magia, which
yeah,
essentially just uses the Viacom V of Steel um, jingle, and it's just two things fading in against a gradient background.
yeah,
It's like, okay, very uninspired.
yeah. Well, there's a remake of the Fadio logo by a user named uh Xenon. I'll have to share that with you as well. And of
Sure.
course, it still has steals the same elements, like the Universal Pictures logo and the Beatles music. However, when they get to the 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 Fadio text, the execution of it is a lot more decent than the real logo.
Okay, yeah. Hopefully, I mean, I'm glad that some people want to reimagine that. That actually is a very nice premise. It's just that that's not always the case. Usually, with many people that do remakes, um, it's very uninspired or it's very low quality. So, I mean, I guess in those cases, that's a bit different.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's good that they reimagined it.
Yes. Uh, okay, we're gonna be close to wrapping up, so if you guys
Mhm.
have any questions for me or Youngblood, please please ask right away.
Yes, please feel free. The floor is open for questions or whatever you want to do or whatever you want to say.
Yeah. Oh,
Indeed.
as we wait for questions, I just want to ask you, have you seen the short film called Rama?
Oh, you bet I have many, many times, and I've actually forced some of my friends to watch it in college because it was so funny. It is a funny commentary on capitalism, but it's also a very funny short film in general because it's just ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Logo mascots come to life.
Yes. Much better than Food Fight for sure.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, definitely. It's like it's pretty much just Logo City. And let's talk about how Mr. Clean is doing all that touring in the zoo. That's really funny. And the kids making fun of the MGM lion and the Green Giant kind of just going like, "Stop being disrespectful." It's great. And then Ronald McDonald just being a psychopath. That's also really funny. It's really hilarious. Um, what I also like is the music inclusion because the music is really old. So I do like some of the music choices that they made in that particular thing. I do actually want to make a video about Logorama and talk about how funny it is. Like I feel like I should do like a slight logo movie review sort of thing because it is technically a short film. So
Yeah. Uh, and did you know that they have a book as a tie-in to it?
oh yeah, I never got that, but I really want to get that book at some point.
Yeah, me too. There should be more books that talk about uh the making of production logos or just logos in general, and that's one of the few that I know of.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are lots of, from what I've actually did some research. There are lots of logo books about print logos, product logos. There are some about television and movies, but it doesn't go into a lot of detail. You
Oh,
know, it
okay.
like there's something called Identity, which I recommend if you want to get into logos. It's just called Identity,
Okay.
and
Who's
it's
the
essentially
author?
about all.
Who's the author?
Um, Good question. I believe it's called. I don't know who the author is, but I do know that it's called Identity Shermayeff and Geismar,
Oh, okay.
and Shermayeff and Geismar, excuse me. And essentially, it's pretty much a compilation of Shermayeff and Geismar's logos. So everything from the Chase logo, the Screen Gems logo, the Smithsonian logo, the NBC logo, the 1976 Bicentennial logo, Baltimore Aquarium logo, Merck, PBS logo. I think it's it says here, yeah, it's a Pan Am. It was written. There were some written contributions from Milton Glaser and John Maeda, and I think they're both businessmen. So identity is a big one because it talks about Shermayeff and Geismar, which I want to touch on in a future video because they did a lot of identities for TV stations. Um, it's it's very cheap on Amazon, and I got that. It's really nice. There's also several other books on logos that are a bunch of print logos.
Okay.
Everything from Lego to 3M that's in that book. I forget the name of it, but there's several logos. I think it's called Logos of the World, I believe. Um, so there's two off the bat that I can think of, but none of them really touch on um, as you said, television and production companies. Like Logo Book's one of them, I believe. The New Big Book of Logos is another one, I think. I don't have that one, but I heard about but that one has logo designs in there. There's also something called logo, the reference guide to symbols and logo types is another one.
Okay.
Um, and I have several of those. Those have those talk about again specific logo types. But there should be a logo book on. Maybe I should write it someday. But there should be a logo book on movies, one on film and one on home video, and one on television. I'm sorry, I repeated myself. One on film, one on television, one on home video. I think that'd be really interesting. I think people would read that for sure.
Yeah. And how do you feel about documentaries on logos? Like not ones that go on for half an hour, but like little short clips, like the making of the 1992 PBS logo. You've ever seen that one?
Oh, I've seen that one, and I actually really love that. I've seen those mini documentaries. There's one on that particular variant. There was one on the making of the 1971 logo that was animated by, of all people, I think it was Chuck Brown. That's the thing. Yeah, animated by all people of Chuck Brown from Looney Tunes.
Oh, Chuck
There's
Jones.
Chuck Jones. I'm stupid. Yeah, Chuck Jones. I confused everybody. Chuck Jones. Wow. Yeah, Chuck Jones did the animation for that particular one. I think it was like for the 1971 PBS Kids, the PBS Kids, PBS variant.
Oh,
That
really?
was designed. That was yeah. Like it started with you know, figuring out the everyman and then figuring out like where to put it. And it was the I guess it was the guy behind the design of the 1971 logo. He was narrating it and talking about how every time he suggested an idea, it was considered silly, and he's facing the wrong way, and he should be facing this way. I think it was Herb Lubalin is the guy behind it. So Herb Lubalin is actually in that short video talking about the 1971 logo.
Okay.
The S from Hell documentary,
Oh yeah, we
in
talked about that
quotes.
already.
Oh well, does talk about like screen gems to an extent, but that's not that informational. But I do want to see more of those documentaries. Maybe I should make them. Who knows?
Yeah, I
We'll
agree.
see.
Well,
There's
you
also
should.
several documentaries on ITV logos too that I
Oh,
found.
cool. Oh, you should send me that Chuck Jones video you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Yeah. I should. I'm gonna see if I can find it because. Oh yeah, Herb Lubalin. It's called Herb Lubalin talks about creating his PBS logo,
Okay.
and there's like animated snippets by Chuck Jones in there, which I wanted to use when I began talking about PBS. I can post it in the stream if you'd like. I can do that right now. Oops.
Okay. Oh, I found it in the search results.
Yes.
But you can still link it to those who are interested as well.
Yeah, if anyone's interested, just ask me and I can post it to people because it's really cool. It's a very cool mini documentary, and it shows the evolution of the 1971 PBS logo that was designed by Herb Lubalin before Chermayeff and Geismar changed the design to what it looks like today.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Okay. I'm just scrolling up back to the chat to see if there were any questions that we missed while we were talking.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Oh, I see one from Moonchow saying if you've gone over your fear of scary logos, and I know you kind of already answered that.
Yes, I definitely have. I'm an old man now, and I'm not, and I'm over the scary stuff. I mean, obviously, it's still kind of sends chills up my spine, but I am more so admiring and am fascinated by logos at this point. I've come to terms with it. Like I said, I developed a Stockholm syndrome for it. I've come to terms with it. I more so look at them. We kind of have a good relationship now, Logos and I. We see things eye to eye now, don't we? So,
Yeah.
for the most part, the scarier, the stranger ones, they're a little bit silly, but and they can be a little bit, off-putting. But when push comes to shove, they're just visual identities. So I have nothing to fear anymore.
Yeah. And
With
another
them.
one, what about those 70s logos? Your opinion on it? I think they mean like probably a general overview opinion on logos in the 70s.
Logos in the 70s are either hit or miss. You can have some logos that are timeless from the 70s, such as the Columbia Pictures logo from 1976, or you could have ones that are super cheesy Scanimate versions, like those PBS logos from the 70s that are Scanimate, and some foreign logos from the 70s are Scanimate and not really well done. So it really depends on where you go. Either you look at either you see film logos that are very well done, or you see gross Scanimate, low budget logos that are just weird.
Hmm.
So it's one or the other.
Yeah. And just within wife acts, can I get your top music marketing logo? I think what he means is your favorite music logo.
My favorite music logo? You mean like records, or
Yeah,
are you referring
records.
to? I do like the Warner Brothers record logos from like the 80s and 90s. That had a very cool like gradient background in the shield. Um, I also like the Duram logo because it has a very nice font. I do like the Parlophone logo because the inclusion of that because the inclusion like again the font and the Capitol Records logo because it has like the it kind of reminds me of the American International logo sorta because it has that a picture of the Capitol in it. Um, I do like Sub Pop Records. I guess that's a cool logo.
Yeah.
Um, if you're referring to music, that's where I'm going to. I'm going to like record labels. So
Okay.
those are some that come readily to mind for me.
Yeah. Youngblood, I don't see the link to that Herb Wuboen video you're mentioning. Like Moonchild is
Oh,
asking where is it?
oh, I thought I posted it. I guess it didn't show up. Shoot.
Okay.
I guess I can post it in the comments after the live stream's over, so that way you all can take a look.
Okay. And Kevin Stryker says 20th Century Fox Records has a nice logo as seen in Tales of Mystery and Imagination.
Yeah, that's Alan Parsons' project. Yeah, that identity is pretty cool. I might touch on those record label evolutions maybe in the distant future if I ever get to finishing um, television, film, and home video.
Okay. And he also says much earlier on that coincidentally, uh, I Zorro distributed a lot of Canon and Kuroko films in Spain.
Oh, no wonder I made that connection. Maybe I read that somewhere and it was embedded in my subconscious.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me see if there's something else. Oh, he mentions about the Soren EMI logo that looks like CBS home video.
Ooh, yeah, I love the CBS home video logo. That's also one of my favorites. I forgot to mention that one.
Yeah,
Fox CBS or whatever. That one's pretty cool.
yes. And there's also, he says the Galemont logo I know is the old-timey Atlas logo in front of Leon.
Yeah, Galmont. That logo's pretty cool. There's also some other Galmont logos that I really like. Um, there's so many different Galmont logos that I really like. I think the '70s Galmont logo is one of my favorites. There's one from the '50s that has like a very awesome and very extended fanfare, but it's an awesome fanfare.
Yeah, and and you have you seen CCG88's videos on the Wasp logos of Galemont?
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier in the stream that I did see that lost episode, that lost logos of Galmont thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. Thanks for reminding me.
Yep.
Okay, let me see if there's anything else. Okay, what else? Let me see. Okay. Well, Kevin Stryker says that it's less work to weave the logos at the end of. Oh wait, let me rephrase that. It's less work to weave the logos at the end of episodes alone. Like he's referred to what we were talking about with plastering.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it really depends. There's lots of different opinions about that. If the distribution company changed, That's one thing. Like we talked about that. Like if the distribution company changed for like certain films, that's one thing. But for like television, I feel that again, if the distribution company didn't change, and if you want to maintain the authenticity, there's no real sense in plastering so much. And again, that argument I think more so is valid if you're talking about video streaming services or again DVD, VHS copies of those movies. Like, what's the point? You already have the labeling on the box, and you already have something maybe prior to the movie that shows that it's distributed from that company. So I feel that that should be maintained because even then it's historical and it's relevant.
Hmm. Yeah. And Moonchild mentions about the logo for Grim and Evil, which I must bring up. The Cartoon Network Studios logos that would change for each series. What's your favorite variants of those? Because I remade five of them for Classic Logo Remake Party 4.
Sure. Oh, I certainly do remember them. I love the aesthetic. I love how like rough around the edges it is, and I love the different variants. I like the Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends one.
Yeah, me too. Um, I like the ones for Dexter and the Powerpuff Girls and the one for Billy and Mandy as well, and Evil
Yeah.
Concarne too. Like I'm kind of biased in that regard since I talk about those two souls a lot on my social media.
Mhm. Yeah, like there's a lot of good variants. Like I do like that one too from Billy and Mandy, but I really like Foster's because that's one of my favorite. That was one of my favorite latter days Cartoon Network
Yeah,
um,
and I like the
projects.
yeah, and I like the one of the Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack, where Flapjack is just jumping up and down, laughing like a maniac, while Captain Knuckles just stands there annoyed and closes the logo on them like that.
Yes, yes, it's really cool just how diverse they are, and it's really cool what they like how they appear on screen. It's really neat.
Yeah, and they still keep that spirit today only. They don't usually use animatics or pencil tests, but they use video clips as well most of the
Mm-hmm.
time.
Hmm.
Yeah,
It's really neat.
yeah. Okay, so we have five more, uh, at least 5 more minutes left. Let me just read one more comment. Oh, there's a user saying that I should do United Plankton pictures for my next local remake party. And actually, I was thinking that because my viewers love my local remake parties so much, uh, instead of having them wait for the next one every now and then, I might be considering do doing individual logo remakes and uploading them on a regular basis because that's what a lot of other users do, like G-Man, who I'm subscribed to, and he is a pretty good remaker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I mean, it depends on your schedule and depends on which ones you want to do. I mean, some people are open to requests. Some people make requests and they're like, "Hey, we're open for requests. If you have requests, just do it." So some people do that when they remake logos. So I guess that's a very good suggestion. I personally am not, I don't really have many memories or attachment to that particular logo, but you do you.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm thinking about doing it as a poll. If I should continue doing classic local remake parties, like a compilation, or I should just make individual uh remakes to satisfy your guys' craving, because I myself kind of can't wait to work on the next remakes. Like, there's a lot of good logos that I think I could put a good spin onto them.
Yeah, I mean it's entirely up to you. I'm sure you can ask for audience response, but at the end of the day, you do what you want.
Yes. Okay, so we're gonna be wrapping up this podcast or live stream. But before we
Hmm.
go, I just want to ask Youngblood, if
Yes.
if there's anything you want to plug, if you're working on anything like say the logo corner episode on RKO Radio Pictures, which was due from kind of 3 years ago.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to plug my Twitter. Follow me at Logo Corner Tiger, everybody, because I post regular updates there. And I do want to make an announcement about my Logo Corner series. I am going to start from scratch with my Logo Corner series because a lot of things have changed between uh, now and 2020, where 20th Century Studios is now a thing. That was a whole debacle in and of itself, which requires a separate video. There's that, and then of course the Warner Brothers logo might be changing. Paramount might change their logo down the line. So I'm gonna see if I can just reboot my series, start from scratch with better editing tools and better audio stuff. I'm going to call it Logo Review, and it's going to make a premiere sometime in July. So be on the lookout for that, people. So there's that, and then there's my Twitter. And in the future, I might restart my Patreon again, but I will plug that in future videos since that's kind of up in the air at this point.
Oh, when you
Um,
restart it, you
hmm?
mean like start from scratch? Because I actually have it in the description of this live stream.
Yes, I do want to start from scratch, and I do want to reboot the series and give it a whole new title, a whole new look, and just start over. Because I feel that what I did initially, while it was a good start, I feel I could do better than that. So I think I might just start over and update it. Because a lot of people have left comments that it's outdated, which honestly, that's fair since it's from 5 years ago. So I might just restart it from the beginning and see how that works for me.
Okay, that sounds good. I really can't wait for your grand return to YouTube after 2 years.
Yeah, I hope to do that because a lot of things, as everybody knows, a lot of sometimes real life gets in the way. Um, and being that I have like a full time job in real life, it is very difficult. And I've also had a lot of things involving, I had a lot of things involving moving out and all that stuff. So once I get all that situated, then I'll be able to begin working in earnest on these things. And since the summer has started and since the school year is over, I can now begin to actually write scripts, do the editing, record, all that good stuff.
Okay, once again, I really can't wait to see what new stuff you have coming this way, Youngblood.
Thank you very much. I'm glad that you are that interested in my content, and I'm really glad that other people are still too, after all these years.
Yes, and I'm really grateful that you decided to be my guest because it was honestly kind of hard to reach out to people. Some don't have easy ways of being contacted, or others they have other things. But you, you, you accepted my offer just like that, and I'm really grateful. You're a great guy and a great content creator. And once again, thank you for being my guest as well as your patience when we were having the inconvenience with the audio.
Yeah. No, it's not a problem. I really like talking about logos. I like talking about it with other folks. I like discussing it at length, and it's something that I want to spread awareness about. So it's really cool that there's a platform for that. So I do appreciate you inviting me, and it's not a problem. Again, technology is always a pain in the butt to deal with. Like, trust me, like I said, I know how that goes. So thank you for inviting me.
Yes, and I hope we have this type of conversation again very soon in the future.
Yeah, sure. If ever you want to invite me back on here again for other reasons, like maybe if you want me as a guest or whatever, just feel free to let me know, and I'll see what I can do.
Okay, now take care, good night, and stay safe out there.
All right. Have a
Oh,
good night, everybody, and I'll see you all in the near future. Peace out. Look out for logo review in July.
yep, see you in the brighter later.
See you on the brighter later. Yeah.
Yes, and keep on
Yes, yes, yes.
logoing.
Keep on logoing, whatever that means.
Yeah,
I still don't know what that means. I'll figure it out later.
okay, bye.
Bye bye now.
Okay, so that was the wonderful Youngblood Fantasy 91. Thank him, thank I thank him so much for being my guest, as you heard, and I thank you for those who stuck around this whole time. I know there were some problems with the audio, but we both managed to be optimistic. We didn't want to postpone it another time, so um, I put in the effort into fixing the issue with the audio input and output, and hopefully I'll learn to really test everything that's set up before I go live. So thank you guys for this one for being a great audience, and next time I have a couple of ideas for next time based on the poll that I did. And speaking of polls, I'm going to be doing one whether I should do logo remakes individually or just continue on with the parties. Okay, and that's gonna be uh, in a bit. But for now, everybody stay safe out there and remember to wash your hands and just uh, stay home and watch Disney Plus or Netflix or whatever.